20 years ago, following the Olympus revolution, kids started receiving their education in virtual reality. Inside Olympus, you could level up, grow within the academy, and finally land a secure job at the prestigious Olympus Alliance. Young Han Juhyuk expected his life to follow that exact, predictable path. But life just has a funny way of surprising you. With a flash of a glowing eye, a crazy old man emerged from the shadows. The elder proclaimed, "I finally found him." Juhyuk rushed down the street, his footsteps tapping rapidly against the cobblestones. Sensing a strange presence, he turned around, wide-eyed. He let out a confused hum, wondering who was there. Suddenly, the old man leaped from a rooftop, landing with a heavy thud. He laughed. "Finally, a kid with the right stuff. I cannot believe I found a kid this talented." Snatching the boy under his arm, the old man soared into the sky. He cheered, "Now this is a fighter's body. Be happy, boy. I will turn you into the hardest-hitting brute this world has ever seen." Juhyuk realized with sheer horror that he had just been kidnapped by a crazy old non-playable character. This stranger radiated pure strength, and through sheer coercion, Juhyuk was forced to become his disciple. Thus began his brutal training. Instead of simple endurance, he was subjected to 12-hour air chair sessions with boulders stacked on his head. To make matters worse, the master fed him questionable dark medicines that made his stomach turn. Survival training meant desperately running away from a ravenous pack of hyenas, kicking up clouds of dust. 10 years into this hell, Juhyuk spoke up, "Master." The autumn leaves rustled around them. Juhyuk excitedly asked, "Did you hear? The highest-ranking player in the world reached level 89. Is that not cool?" The old man picked his ear, completely unimpressed. "Meh." He scoffed, "Grasshopper, he is not even level 99. He tarnishes the name of ranker." Meanwhile, 16-year-old Juhyuk trembled as he did push-ups with his master sitting cross-legged on his back. Juhyuk grunted under the crushing weight. He argued, "But still, he is officially the highest-ranking player, so no one is stronger than him." The master sighed and scratched his chin. "Do you doubt the words of your master, Grasshopper?" A holographic ranking board flickered in the air. The master explained, "What you see is not all that is. Much in this world is not so apparent when looking at the surface alone." Sweating profusely, Juhyuk gritted his teeth and thought, "This psycho is just blowing more hot air." The master laughed heartily. "Have faith, Grasshopper. I will make you the strongest human in the entire world." Juhyuk forced out a nervous laugh. Juhyuk hesitated, "But master," he continued, "I was not born with a silver spoon, and I have no items, so how is that possible?" The master smacked Juhyuk into the dirt. He yelled, "Shut your trap, boy. Level and stats rule all. Maybe another 3 hours of push-ups will get through to you," the master declared, leaving Juhyuk to shed a single tear. Juhyuk internally cried, "Can I really trust this old geezer?" Daily life became an endless cycle of pain. Nevertheless, through harsh winters and blooming springs, time passed by like the wind. Finally, after 20 agonizing years, his training from hell came to an end in a dripping cave. The aging master looked at him fondly. "You have done well, Arthur. I have taught you all I know. Now I may die with no regrets," the old man said. Now 26, Juhyuk stared blankly and thought, "Would you just die already, please?" Tears streamed down Juhyuk's face. He thought about the pure torture he had endured. He thought, "I was treated like a hopeless job seeker in the real world." He recalled the endless training in Olympus, getting ruthlessly pummeled day after day. He sighed. He realized he could have just deleted his character years ago, yet he kept going. But he survived. He looked at the old man and said, "Master, I am practically your son, and as if you were my father, I endured 20 long years with you." Gripping his chest with fake tears, he cried, "But I have no confidence I can make it out there in that cruel world without you. I am still in need of your teaching," he pleaded. The master hummed, looking highly doubtful. The master chuckled softly. "That is not so, Grasshopper. You are still weaker than me, but you have gotten much stronger." Juhyuk glared impatiently. He thought, "So am I strong or weak? Just give me a quest, old man. I need a quest." Dropping to his knees, Juhyuk bowed deeply. "Please, master, I yearn for more of your teaching. I thought these kinds of characters give out quests when they die." "The least you can do before you die is give me a quest," he screamed in his head. The master sat in absolute silence. Finally, the master spoke. "I know just what you mean." Juhyuk's eyes lit up with greedy anticipation as he thought about the upcoming quest. "I will not forget you, my one and only disciple. No one but you can propagate my teachings now." Juhyuk ground his teeth, shedding a bitter tear. "What an honor it is for you to trap your only disciple for 20 goddamn years," he mentally screamed. The master handed him a worn parchment map with a red cross. "Seek out this cave." The master declared, "This is where your future lies." Juhyuk sprang up, his face flushed with joy. "Thank you, master. Your grace is loftier than the heavens and deeper than the sea." He slammed his head against the ground in rapid bows. "I bow to thee." A sinister dark aura erupted from the old man. He began to laugh, low at first, before escalating into a booming, maniacal cackle. The master's eyes glowed red as heavy winds whipped around the cave. "This world will kneel to you, now go." "And conquer all," he roared. Juhyuk scrambled away in sheer terror. A soft puff of wind blew out the lone candle. By the time Juhyuk dusted himself off, the master had already passed away in meditation. Juhyuk waited there, looking at his master. Then he turned back with a sharp movement. Looking at the lifeless body, he coldly muttered, "Rest in peace, I guess. Let us not meet in the next life." After 2 decades of grueling servitude, his training from hell was finally over. Juhyuk stood confidently before the glowing boundary gate of the special region. He had reached the starting line of his new beginning. "Well then, that is the end of that," he grinned, swiping his hand. "Status window." He chuckled, fondly remembering the days he tried to bolt and nearly got beaten to death. "Good times," he thought. The bright blue status screen popped up. But look, even hell has a silver lining. His level was a staggering 99, with his strength, dexterity, vitality, and intelligence completely maxed out. Then his eyes locked onto the bottom line. "Wait, why is my luck negative?" A notification chimed, confirming his player status. Juhyuk looked up, relieved. "Oh, finally." The system announced that the curse of confinement was broken. A bright glow enveloped him as he was freed from his duties. Juhyuk pumped his fists in victory. The special restrictions were officially lifted. With a satisfying click, the digital gate unlocked. The system chimed once more, allowing him to leave the special region of Rena. He gazed out into the bright world ahead. A cool breeze rushed past him. He smiled softly. What a long 20 years that was. Clenching his fist with determination, he smirked. "See ya never, Rena." He looked toward the sky, laughing cheerfully. "And hello. New life." Suddenly, the green screen flashed a violent red. An error code violently buzzed, denying him access. Multiple warning signs swarmed his vision. Confused, he stuttered, asking what was going on. The system detected abnormal leveling. The proper procedures had not been met. Juhyuk's jaw dropped. His precious status window crackled with red lightning as the system failed to detect a standard process. The system declared that, by the power of Zeus, his abnormal leveling would be reformatted. Juhyuk panicked. Wait a second." His glorious level 99 began to plummet rapidly before his eyes. Juhyuk screamed in absolute horror. "What? Hey, stop." Tears spewed from his eyes as he wailed, swearing loudly and begging the system to stop its barrage. "Do not mess with me, Zeus, stop it," he roared into the void. With a final crushing chime, his level crashed all the way down to 0-1. Juhyuk collapsed to his knees with a heavy thud, screaming, "No!" Red warnings flashed around him, detecting critically high stress levels that could force a log out. Sometime later, Juhyuk lay motionless on the dirt, his soul entirely drained. Tears pooled in his vacant eyes. "My 20 years," he sobbed. He weakly commanded his status window to open. The glowing blue board materialized. "Haha, it was not a dream," he mumbled, broken. "I cannot believe it, huh." He jolted upright, his eyes widening to the size of saucers. "Wait, what is this?" He leaned in closely, scanning the numbers in disbelief. The stats are the same. "No way." He realized the brutal truth. It only reformatted. "To my level." He slumped back down, letting out a long, exhausted breath. A twisted grin crept onto his face. "Haha, this is bananas," he muttered. Leveling down definitely came with its own severe penalties. You practically could not use any skills. His fundamental spirit wave skill was locked behind level 40. He could not use attack skills, and equipping proper items was impossible. After all, he was only level 1. But Juhyuk flashed a devilish grin. But who cares? The best thing about being level 1 was that leveling up was incredibly easy. With maxed out stats, he could obliterate high-level enemies for quick experience, which he could dump right back into his stats. "I am in the best starting position ever." Golden light seemed to radiate from his very being. "My life of being stared at with judging eyes is over." He stared at the boundary gate, a fiery determination in his chest. "My new life in Olympus starts now." He raised the master's worn map, his eyes gleaming. "And my first destination is the village where all the noobs are." A brilliant teleportation magic circle enveloped him as he activated a return scroll to Urka's. "I, Han Juhyuk, 26 years old, may be starting 6 years later than the rest." Bathed in the radiant blue light, he smirked. "But this is where I decide my life begins." After 20 grueling years, Juhyuk finally materialized in the bustling town of Urka's. He breathed in the fresh air, a nostalgic smile spreading across his face. "It has been 20 years, he remarked. He gazed around the lively square, surrounded by the joyful chatter of townsfolk. "I missed this square," he thought warmly. Energetic vendors peddled their wares, shouting about unbeatable prices to the passing crowds. Juhyuk took in the sight of ordinary people going about their days. "And the all-around, down-to-earth vibe," he observed. A triumphant feeling echoed in his mind. He was really back. Overwhelmed with pure emotion, happy tears pricked the corners of his eyes. Pumping his fists with renewed vigor, he shouted, "All right, hunting grounds, here I come." Humming a cheerful tune, Juhyuk practically skipped toward the imposing Urka's west gate. But before he could step through, an armored sentry barred his path, pointing a sharp spear right at him. "Hold it right there," the guard ordered. The guard eyed him suspiciously. "What is your level?" Juhyuk casually stated he was level 1. His holographic status window confirmed it, displaying Arthur level 1. Juhyuk stared blankly, waiting for the guard to process this incredibly low number. The guard shook his head in exasperation. "You have come the wrong way. You are looking for the east gate." Pointing past the archway, the sentry warned that the west gate was far too dangerous for a level 1 novice. Juhyuk tilted his head, feigning innocence. "Is this area off limits?" The guard let out a heavy sigh. "No, but I strongly advise you to turn back." He pointed toward a deceptively cute fanged rabbit hopping in the grass. "You cannot even kill a fanged rabbit with your stats." Undeterred, Juhyuk casually brushed past the sentry with a confident stride. "I think I got it," he smirked, while the guard frantically suggested he train at the east gate instead. Completely ignoring the warnings, Juhyuk marched straight into the monster-filled hunting grounds. The guard watched him go, muttering that kids these days were fools who relied too much on respawning. Suddenly, a glowing blue quest window popped up. Juhyuk blinked in surprise. "Huh. Oh, a quest," he muttered. The system instructed him to soothe the sentry Nur's anxiety for a whopping 30,000 gold. A sly grin formed on Juhyuk's face. "What a worrywart. I think I can help you out here, Nur." From a distance, Nur watched Juhyuk with utter bewilderment. Juhyuk waved enthusiastically like a madman, while a fanged rabbit crept up right behind him. The guard wondered what in Olympus he was doing. The rabbit lunged, its terrifying jaws snapping wide. Nur screamed in sheer panic, ordering Juhyuk to dodge the striking beast. With a graceful hop, Juhyuk effortlessly sidestepped the monster's attack. His eyes flashed with a lethal glint as he pulled back his fist, the air whistling around his arm. With a thunderous impact, his punch sent the rabbit rocketing into the sky in an explosion of light. A system notification chimed, granting him gold and experience. Blowing an imaginary wisp of smoke from his fist, Juhyuk chuckled. "Oh, it is like riding a bike." In a blur of motion, he turned the grassy field into a slaughterhouse, effortlessly pummeling rabbit after rabbit with rapid strikes. Nur's jaw practically hit the floor as he watched the utter carnage in stunned silence. He could only think one thing: who in Olympus was this guy? Snapping out of his shock, Nur yelled that Juhyuk had claimed to be level 1. Striking a confident pose, Juhyuk replied that he was. Flashing a bright smile, Juhyuk noted that he thought all sentries could see players' levels. Sweating profusely, Nur admitted he saw the level 1 status, but demanded to know what bizarre method Juhyuk was using. Juhyuk laughed it off as a trade secret, but their banter was abruptly cut short by a furious squeal as a massive beast emerged from the brush. Nur recoiled in pure terror. A giant raging boar stomped the ground, snorting violently. Nur cried out that it was the bully of the west gate. The sentry heroically stepped forward with his spear, ordering Juhyuk to stand back. But Juhyuk simply smirked. "Do not worry, Nur. I got this." Before the guard could even finish his warning, Juhyuk met the charging beast head-on, burying his glowing fist into its snout with a bone-shattering crunch. A triumphant chime rang out as he leveled up. Juhyuk cheered softly to himself. Completely dumbfounded by the casual whistling of the beginner who just one-shot a mini-boss, Nur decided Juhyuk was an absolute madman. Shaking his head, the sentry finally gave up trying to understand. He had no choice but to accept it. The quest completion window flashed, rewarding him 30,000 gold. Juhyuk smiled in satisfaction, noting he did it. Getting paid 30 grand just for throwing a few fists felt amazing. He checked his virtual wallet, extremely satisfied with his quick 25 bucks. However, a troubling thought brought his celebration to a sudden halt. Opening his status window, he realized all his stats were permanently locked at 99, while his luck sat at a miserable negative 99. Shrugging it off, he waved cheerfully to the traumatized sentry. "I guess it does not matter if my real stats are all at 99. Later, Gator." Leaving the gate behind, Juhyuk decided to push his bizarre stats out of his mind and head straight for the upper-class hunting grounds. He stretched lazily, reminiscing about how he thought his 20-year struggle in the tutorial was finally going to pay off. He genuinely believed everything would be smooth sailing from there on out. However, several days later, that peaceful illusion violently shattered. Sitting in a gloomy room, Juhyuk glared with murderous intent. What the hell is this? A crimson warning flashed before him. He had accidentally engaged in murder, activating the chaos system and marking him as a killer. The past few days had devolved into a complete and utter disaster. Out of nowhere, random NPCs had started throwing hands, screaming for his death. Hiding in a dark alleyway, Juhyuk realized they had mistook him for a notorious wanted criminal named Getrock, who had a bounty of 100 million gold. He angrily questioned why they could not at least mistake him for someone he actually resembled. Pondering his sudden infamy, he logically concluded his abysmal negative 99 luck was to blame. As he cursed his luck for causing the confusion, a shadowy assassin lunged from the darkness above. The assassin slashed with a dagger, proving that people simply would not stop trying to kill him. Juhyuk's instincts flared, his eyes tracking the blade with inhuman precision. He countered with a devastating flaming uppercut that launched the assailant into the sky in a fiery explosion. Holding his fist in regret, Juhyuk realized his trained reflexes had forced him to fight back to survive. The attacker's body dissolved into data. Juhyuk winced, knowing his excessive force just made everything significantly worse. A blue system window officially branded him with full chaos status. A dark, ominous aura erupted around him. A massive list of brutal penalties flooded his screen, crippling his experience gain and barring him from all public towns. He let out a deeply exhausted curse. The situation quickly spiraled. Now, swarms of greedy players were relentlessly sprinting after him across the rocky plains. There was only one reason for this massive, sudden witch hunt. The players were yelling into their comms, eagerly tracking him down as the infamous serial killer Getrock. Cornered and annoyed, Juhyuk remembered the game's hero system, violently wishing he knew who this Getrock idiot actually was. Killing a Chaos player was the fastest way to become a revered hero. Hiding deep inside a rocky cave, he pressed his back against the cold stone wall. He realized every aspiring hero in the server had a massive incentive to track him down. A group of players finally cornered him, demanding his immediate surrender. In the pitch-black cave, Juhyuk's eye caught the light with a terrifying, blood-red glare. A massive explosion of fire and debris blasted out of the cavern. Stepping over the dispersing pixels of his pursuers, Juhyuk noted that he had no choice but to kill them too. Crossing his arms defensively, he decided it was best to lay low and hide for a while. The only problem was he still desperately needed to level up. Retreating to the deep woods, Juhyuk spent 2 isolated weeks living out of a makeshift camp. A cunning smile slowly stretched across his face as he hatched a new plan. Staring at his crimson status window, he accepted that his chances of being a normal player were permanently gone. He would have to hide out for an entire year before the chaos status naturally went away. Leaning back against a boulder, he decided to embrace his villainous role as long as it paid well. Who needed to be a hero anyway? Running a hand through his hair, he reassured himself that his maxed-out stats would keep him safe. Yet a lingering sense of unease gnawed at him. The entire situation felt incredibly bizarre. Memories of his grueling 20 years of martial arts training flashed in his mind. Returning his thoughts to the alleyway where his life ruined itself, he stood enveloped in the dark aura of his forced chaos status. Juhyuk's gaze hardened. The system administrator, Zeus, clearly had a personal vendetta against him. Was this all part of some grand, hidden storyline? Looking up at the canopy, he asked the empty air what Zeus was hiding from him. As he began to question the very fabric of his situation, the answers found him the very next day. A voice hollered from the bushes, calling for their master, startling Juhyuk. A bizarre group of elderly men in dark robes threw themselves onto the dirt path, bowing deeply and wailing like children. Juhyuk stuttered, completely baffled, asking what this was. An old man with long white hair looked up, sobbing uncontrollably. He praised Juhyuk as the heir of the Supreme Being, declaring he could now die in peace. The old men began chanting their hails in unison. Startled, Juhyuk watched as a massive holographic quest window materialized right through his chest. As the elders proclaimed him the heir of the Skyevil, a blinding golden light swallowed the forest. Utterly lost, Juhyuk could only muster a confused, "Excuse me." The quest details revealed he needed to become the heir to the Skyevil and convince the 12 elders. Staring at the rank, his heart plummeted, realizing it was a triple S quest. A majestic blue light pulsed from the system window, confirming the impossible rank. Over the last 2 centuries, out of millions of quest players had seen in Olympus, a triple S quest was something of absolute legend. It had only ever appeared exactly 3 times. Sweating bullets, Juhyuk noted that such quests were usually tackled by entire nations as major scenario events. The shadows deepened over his face as he pieced the puzzle together. His 20-year training from hell, being violently pushed to full chaos as soon as he got out of the starting zone. A cynical smile broke across his face. It was all starting to look like an incredibly elaborate story scripted by Zeus 20 years ago. And worse, as ethereal magic swirled around him, he realized he was being forced to be the unwilling face of it all. As weapons clashed in a blinding light, the system's text declared that the Age of Chaos went on for 7,000 years. After a truce following an endless war, the world was divided into 3 powers. Santinia was the strongest of them, home of the Supreme Being. His name was Garcia Mentis, and he had 14 wives. He sired a son with his 7th wife and named him Aractus. Then Aractus ventured far and had children. And then those children eventually conceived, and so on and so forth. Looking at the glowing blue hologram with deep annoyance, Juhyuk sighed. He complained, "Why is this family history so long? This alone takes 10 minutes to read." 3 old men knelt before him in the dirt as Juhyuk sat awkwardly on a fallen log. He thought, would it be rude to skip all this, since it is sacred and all? The system continued, explaining that was when Shulta, the strongest being of the time, came into power. A terrifying figure engulfed in crimson flames appeared in the lore. The text read, "There was none crueler or stronger, for he was of demon blood, and all the heroes of the world feared him." Nevertheless, Shulta was cast out by his opposition in a revolt. Struck by a blinding flash of light, the supreme demon was stripped of everything. He was left powerless on the brink of death. He fled and lived in a cave, gathering his strength. Juhyuk stared at his bandaged hand, processing the absurd lore. He thought, so basically my master was Shulta and he made me his heir, and all I learned for 20 years were Shulta's skills. The system chimed softly as a new SSS-rank quest window popped up. Juhyuk tilted his head and thought, The quest demanded he gain the acknowledgement of the friendly elders, ending with a dire warning. Juhyuk panicked inwardly. Wait, if I don't get them to accept me as heir, the consequences will be severe. A cold sweat broke out on his face. He thought in a panic, does that mean my character will be deleted or I can't log in again? He stood up from the log, his cape billowing slightly as the system granted him temporary command over the 12 Skydevil elders. He grumbled, and just when I thought I couldn't get more screwed than I already am. Staring down at the kneeling old men, he asked, are you all the Skydevil elders? The men flinched in surprise. The lead elder slammed his forehead into the dirt with a heavy thud. He screamed, yes, master, it is an honor beyond words to be recognized by you. Juhyuk smiled awkwardly, a drop of sweat rolling down his cheek. He thought, I don't think recognition is the right word, I literally just learned about you. Blood dripped from the elder's forehead from the force of his sudden bow. He cried out, my master told me to guide the Skydevil back to these lands and restore his glory. Oh, master. The 7 elders bowed in perfect, fanatical unison, shouting, hail, hail, all hail, Juhyuk mused. I'm guessing these are the 7 that accept me. Putting on a facade of confidence, Juhyuk adjusted his cloak with a cough. He commanded, let's get moving, guide me. The elder beamed proudly, stating, and we have slit the throats of all the rats who were lying in wait nearby. Juhyuk's face went pale with horror as he forced out, cool, he thought. I was wondering why it was so quiet around here. The system chimed brightly, notifying that the player had been identified as elder. Another chime confirmed his acceptance as elder at the present time. A notification stated that the player would share experience points accumulated by elders in certain areas. Juhyuk blinked in confusion, muttering, oh. Suddenly, a notification flashed that he had leveled up. A brilliant column of light erupted around him as the notifications multiplied. He gasped, what is this? I'm at level 9 already. A wicked grin spread across Juhyuk's face as the realization hit him. He calculated, most people enter the academy around 6 to 8 years old, and by the time they graduate when they're 20, the rules state they have to reach level 22. He thought, just how strong were those guys they killed? Man, if I take advantage of this. Getting into character, Juhyuk asked, what is your name? The old man bowed respectfully and replied, I am Luxo, the first elder. Juhyuk's cape fluttered dramatically in the wind. He stated, I'm just gonna set something straight. Luxo kept his head lowered, answering, please do, master. Juhyuk closed his eyes, feigning deep sorrow. He sighed, I'm being held back by a particular restraint. He painted a vivid lie of being magically shackled by glowing chains. He explained, I received my master's training, but I cannot currently use any of the skills he taught me. He added, my mind remembers, but my body will not obey. He threw his arms out, his voice booming with fake charisma. He proclaimed, but you must have faith. I will be your supreme being, and I will help you reach a brighter future. The elders looked up, tears streaming down their faces, their eyes literally sparkling with devotion. They cried out, Master. As they worshipped him in the dirt, Juhyuk gave a smug, hidden grin. The system noted his affinity with the Skydevil had increased. Surrounded by a blinding aura of command, he shouted, now take me to your home. Back in the real world, sunlight streamed into a perfectly ordinary, quiet kitchen equipped with a water dispenser and rice cooker. Dressed in a simple gray shirt and sweatpants, Juhyuk greedily chugged a glass of cold water. Hey, Juhyuk, a voice called out. He lowered the glass, looking exhausted, and replied, what? His blonde little sister, Han-Si, smiled excitedly. She announced, my guild got this pretty cool quest. Apparently there is this serial killer named Getrock near Santinia. Juhyuk broke out into a nervous sweat. He asked, oh yeah, it's not actually me, is it? He thought back to the rumors of a dangerous man wielding twin pistols. Se continued, he has twin pistols, and I think he is around level 40. In Juhyuk's imagination, a blonde, blindfolded killer stood victorious over a pile of bodies. Se added, so I think we can take him if there are 7 of us. The killer's crimson eye glared menacingly through the darkness. Se held up 3 fingers with a bright smile. She cheered, and if we do, the guild is offering me 3 million gold. Juhyuk stared at her in disbelief, thinking, what? Getrock's bounty is over 100 million gold, so why would you only get 3 million? She scratched her head sheepishly. She explained, well, they're a decent-sized guild, and they help me a ton as it is. Juhyuk deadpan, thinking, but your team would be doing all the work. Striking a proud pose, Se beamed. She promised, anyway, if I get the money, I'll buy you barbecue. Her expression softened with concern. She noted, your eyes look so tired lately. I thought you haven't been getting much protein. Juhyuk slouched away, surrounded by a depressing aura. He grumbled, that might have more to do with my luck being negative 99. He sighed, thanks sis, I gotta go log in again. Back inside Olympus, a system alert popped up in the forest. You are being followed, master, Luxo warned through the interface. Juhyuk spun around, confused, and muttered, huh. He checked his messages, realizing his sister was on another continent entirely. He whispered, it's not Se. A shadowy figure emerged from the glowing red foliage with a sinister swoosh. There you are, imposter, the voice snarled. Juhyuk's eyes widened in fear as he thought, did he say imposter? And he has twin pistols. The infamous serial killer Getrock stepped into the clearing, dual flintlocks in hand, and an insane grin on his face. Juhyuk swallowed hard, thinking, is that Getrock the wanted man? Getrock glared daggers at him. He threatened, you have some balls trying to impersonate me, kid, and you'll pay for it with your pathetic life. Juhyuk broke into a nervous sweat and hesitated. He thought, it's a good thing I heard about him from Se first, but even with my high stats, he's still level 40. Getrock aggressively cocked both pistols with a sharp click-clack. Juhyuk analyzed the grim reality, thinking, we don't just have a 30-level gap, he could have more items, equipment, and damage bonuses too. Juhyuk closed his eyes, stealing his resolve. He reminded himself, I am on the most important quest of my life and I can't lose. Opening his eyes to reveal a terrifying, confident glare, he smirked. He declared, so I won't fight alone. Luxo, he commanded. Instantly, the first elder manifested in front of him with a gust of wind. Luxo kept his head bowed reverently. He responded, yes, master, I am here. Getrock stumbled back in shock, flinching. He thought, where did he come from? I didn't sense him at all. Juhyuk's order was cold and absolute. He commanded, kill him. Luxo drew his blade with a crisp metallic ring. He acknowledged, as you wish, master. Getrock readied his weapons, his face twisted in a manic laugh. He shouted, what can a noob and an old geezer do anyway? He fired his weapons, but the clearing was already empty, the dust settling. He yelled, ha, you two got plenty of time to chit-chat, I see. A blindingly fast blur swept past the killer. Getrock started, you could have attacked me instead of wasting time. Getrock's decapitated head sailed through the air, his solitary eye wide with absolute bewilderment. He thought, what just happened? The head hit the dirt with a dull thud. Luxo stood yards away, his posture entirely relaxed. With a sharp metallic clack, Luxo calmly sheathed his bloody sword. Juhyuk's jaw practically hit the floor. He thought, completely stunned, how did he? As Luxo casually strolled back past Getrock's twitching corpse, Juhyuk tried to process the impossible. He questioned, wasn't Getrock at level 40 though? Was he just weak, or is Luxo just crazy strong? Sweating profusely but keeping his cool outward smile, Juhyuk reasoned. He thought, I honestly couldn't even see what Luxo did just now. If I could use a psychic skill, I might be able to read his mana at least. Luxo knelt respectfully, offering up a tied cloth sack. He presented, here is his head, master. The system chimed, notifying Juhyuk that he had earned experience points. Another chime declared his full chaos status confirmed. The screen enthusiastically congratulated him for killing an NPC that was over 30 levels higher than him. A dormant ability, the Shattering Sky Technique, was suddenly unlocked. Juhyuk held the glowing sack containing Getrock's head, the 100 million gold bounty practically singing to him. He thought, am I dreaming right now? He flashed a genuinely sinister, greedy smile. He praised, good work, Luxo. His mind raced with the insane profit. He thought, yeah, so what if I got screwed with full chaos when I have an NPC who just got me 100 million gold? Fully leaning into his villainous persona, he declared, attention, elders, we will discreetly hunt all living creatures in the area. Bursting with a majestic golden aura, he shouted, to signify my return. Inside, he was laughing like a madman, thinking, whether it is scenarios, quests, hell, or even pretending to be a master, I will do it all. Juhyuk let out a loud, maniacal villain laugh, fully embracing his incredibly lucrative new role. 2 weeks later, Juhyuk strolled through the dense, shadowed forest, his heavy cloak swishing softly with each careful footstep. Suddenly, an old man with flowing white hair launched forward. With a sweeping rush of wind and a sharp metallic clash, his blade struck out. He slashed wildly, cleanly slicing through a massive bear and a skeletal warrior with a series of brutal, hissing strikes. The old man zoomed ahead, leaving a trail of destruction, while a bright blue system window pinged in front of Juhyuk, notifying him of another level up. Juhyuk stared at the glowing screen, a smirk tugging at his lips. He noted that he was already level 13, an insanely fast pace that would take most people years to achieve. He remembered the Shattering Sky Technique was only available from level 40. He knew things would really kick off once he got there. He chuckled softly, feeling like the CEO of a company that existed solely to farm items and effortlessly grind levels for him. Clenching his fist with fiery determination, Juhyuk grinned. He declared that if he couldn't get into a guild, he would just start his own. But there was a more pressing issue. He held up a heavy, lumpy sack containing his recent spoils, feeling its gruesome weight. His aura flared with intense excitement as he thought about turning this head in for the massive prize money. Back in the real world, inside his messy room, Juhyuk furiously clicked his mouse and clacked away at his keyboard. He pulled up a digital forum, typing out a crucial question. He asked where the best place was to sell expensive items. The first reply warned him to absolutely do it in-game, adding that trying it in the real world risked leaking personal details and ruining his life. Another user aggressively chimed in, asking if he was joking. They insisted he should never sell in real life. Juhyuk pinched his chin, deep in thought. He muttered that he was full chaos when in-game, so he couldn't use public services, but doing it here would just get him doxxed like the comments warned. The door creaked open, and his younger sister, Se, poked her head in with a bright, flowery smile. Juhyuk flinched in surprise. Spinning around in his chair, he smiled. "Ah, perfect timing, Se." She raised an eyebrow, playfully asking if he needed some cash. Waving his hands nervously, thick beads of sweat dripping down his face, he awkwardly chuckled that he wasn't asking for pocket money. He leaned in, seriously asking what she would say if he got her Getrock's head. Se deadpanned, telling him he was really bad at lying. She laughed out loud, crossing her arms. She pointed out that he would just sell it and spend it all on burgers, naturally saving one for her. Juhyuk's eyes glinted with absolute unblinking seriousness. He promised he would get it for her, suggesting they split the bounty. Se stared at him in utter confusion, her mind spinning as she wondered why he sounded so intense while clearly speaking total nonsense. Shivering slightly, she reminded him of Getrock's insane level, stating he couldn't beat the boss even if he had infinite lives. Then she paused, asking if he was supposed to be trapped in training. Leaning back comfortably, Juhyuk casually mentioned that he had escaped a few days ago and actually already killed him. Se gasped in absolute disbelief. Se argued that the boss was level 40, accusing him of taking the joke too far. Juhyuk simply smirked, replying that he just hit him and he died, casually adding that he was pretty much level 99. He confidently asked if she remembered the screenshot he had sent her a while ago. 10 years ago, a younger Se lay sprawled on her bed, idly checking her smartphone. A text message from Juhyuk read that he had hit level 99. Se had merely sighed, assuming her brother was making weird jokes from a severe lack of sleep. Back in the present, Se admitted she thought it was made up since the forums called it fake too. Realizing the truth, she murmured that she guessed it would have been possible. Juhyuk smiled brightly, telling her to come to the Rifnia Mountains in Santinia if she wanted the head. He promised to send her the coordinates. Se tugged at her cheek, nervously asking why she had to go all the way out there when she was only a measly level 25. Juhyuk casually dropped the bombshell, mentioning as an afterthought that he was completely full chaos right now. Se's face drained of color, her eyes wide with absolute horror as the reality of his red player murderer status sank in. Later, at the imposing gate to the Rifnia Mountains, Se smiled politely at the guards, claiming she just had some business there. A heavily armored guard frowned with deep concern, warning her that the terrifying monsters in that region were sure to kill her. Gripping her blue-gemmed staff, Se let out an awkward laugh. She assured them it was all right since she didn't stay dead anyway, inwardly lamenting her bizarre life choices. She waved cheerfully as she walked through the massive iron gates, leaving the baffled guards shouting warnings behind her. She muttered to herself that she even took half a day off work for this crazy errand. An aura of intense frustration surrounded her as she grumbled a fierce warning to the open air, praying Juhyuk wasn't messing with her. 3 hours later, Se trudged nervously through the overgrown forest path, her boots crunching softly against the loose dirt. Looking around with wide eyes, she noted how eerily quiet it was. Even though Juhyuk promised to clear the path, the silence felt terrifying. She remembered his smug, confident face promising to mercilessly kill all the enemies in the area for her. Suddenly, Juhyuk popped up right beside her with a soft rustle of fabric, gently patting her shoulder and cheerfully announcing his presence. Startled out of her mind, Se shrieked in terror and violently jabbed the wooden end of her staff straight into Juhyuk's cheek, drawing a sharp splatter of blood. Catching her breath, Se noticed his strange condition. She started to ask if he was poisoned before trailing off in deep confusion. Juhyuk stood before her, oozing a terrifying, dark purple aura of pure malice. Se trembled, confirming that he really was full chaos. Sweating nervously, she hesitantly asked if his status being this bad meant he had murdered an innocent NPC. Juhyuk just gave a shady, awkward chuckle. Trying to change the subject, Juhyuk casually tapped his glowing blue system window with a bandaged finger. With a heavy grunt, he lifted the large, stained sack. He proudly presented the item, with a system prompt confirming a jaw-dropping 100 million gold bounty. Se stared at the bulging bag, utterly stunned. She whispered in disbelief that it couldn't be real. Sparkles practically flew from Se's eyes as she grabbed Juhyuk's cloak, screeching that it was 100 million gold and he really wasn't lying. Juhyuk smugly replied that he told her so. Dancing around with absolute joy, Se squealed that it was a miracle. Juhyuk urged her to hurry up and cash it in, darkly warning her that if she took the money and ran, she was dead. A cheerful bell chimed brightly as Se pushed open the heavy wooden doors to the sunlit reward center. A smiling, silver-haired receptionist carefully inspected the heavy sack, happily confirming that it was indeed the severed head of Getrock. With a resounding thud, the clerk stamped the completion document. Se clutched her hands to her chest, marveling that the insane quest was really happening. A warm, golden light illuminated Se's ecstatic face as the system formally announced her massive reward of 100 million gold. Drooling slightly with joy, Se imagined splitting the cash, dreaming of buying every single kind of hamburger from every restaurant in the city. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Juhyuk violently hurled into the toilet. His mother and Se watched in pure disgust and deep concern. Little Se looked on with pity as their mother explained he had eaten something weird for his training, and now he kept throwing up in real life too. Se offered a sympathetic, wistful smile, acknowledging that her brother sure had been through a lot of suffering for this payout. In a cute 8-bit animation, Se's pixelated avatar happily trotted along, carrying her heavy pouch of gold. Back in the game forest, Juhyuk handed over a bulging coin purse. A system window pinged loudly, showing a massive transfer of 99 million gold. Juhyuk blinked in confusion, hefting the surprisingly heavy bag. He questioned the amount, reminding her they were supposed to be splitting it evenly. Se winked playfully, explaining she couldn't take half of what he made after 20 years of hard work. But she noted she did charge him 1 million since he owed his little sister pocket money. Deeply touched by her gesture, Juhyuk reached out to argue but quickly changed his mind, accepting it with a soft, grateful sigh. Waving goodbye, Se zoomed off into the distance, shouting that she had to get back to work but would buy burgers for dinner. Juhyuk awkwardly waved back. He smiled fondly, telling her to get back safely. Left alone in the quiet woods, Juhyuk looked down at his bandaged hands, doing the heavy math. He muttered about factoring in taxes and the real-world exchange rate. Gripping his fist with fiery excitement, he calculated it to be around 80 million gold. He grinned widely, declaring it the quest of a lifetime, completely unbothered by his full chaos status. A massive mountain of gold coins glittered brightly in his imagination, as he remembered he hadn't even started his SSS-rank quest yet. Surrounded by falling phantom coins, he realized he couldn't even fathom the reward for completing his main quest. He resolved to hit level 40 immediately. Walking determinedly down the dirt path, Juhyuk knew he had to spend every single second furiously grinding to level up. His eyes sharpened with intense resolve. To properly invest in his future, he was going to have to buy some premium gear. That evening in the real world, Juhyuk approached Se with a wide, innocent grin, asking her to buy some items for him. Se froze instantly, her eyes narrowing with immediate chilling suspicion. She flatly reminded him she had just gotten off work. Juhyuk smoothly countered, offering her a monthly salary of 300,000 won if things worked out. Without missing a single beat, Se coldly demanded 500,000. Juhyuk instantly agreed. Sighing heavily, Se slid into the sleek gaming pod, grumbling that this arrangement felt exactly like working unpaid overtime. A few hours later in the game, Juhyuk stood in the forest, practically blinding a weary Se with the radiant, glittering glow of his new premium accessories. A bright system window displayed his massive haul of experience-boosting gear, including rings of small growth, a necklace of discipline, and glowing cultivator's bracelets. Juhyuk aggressively grabbed Se's shoulders, shaking her violently with a look of pure, unadulterated agony. He screamed that the entire 70 million gold he just earned was completely gone. Looking completely drained of life, Se extended a trembling hand. She bluntly demanded that the next time he sent her on a miserable errand, he better provide a war point. Recovering his composure, Juhyuk admired his glimmering earrings with a dopey smile, casually asking how much war points actually cost. His face abruptly drained of all color, a stream of blood dripping from his mouth in sheer horror as he learned it cost 3 million gold to buy one, and 300,000 just to use it. Crying a dramatic river of tears, Juhyuk cursed the fickle nature of money. Se, logging out in a pixelated flash, bluntly told him to hide those accessories in invisible mode because he looked hideous. Wiping a solitary tear, Juhyuk activated invisible mode on his glowing gear, consoling himself with the thought that he could easily earn more money soon. Taking a deep, centering breath, he decided he just had to focus entirely on what lay ahead. Striding forward confidently, Juhyuk called out to his elders. The old man dropped in behind him with a swift rush of air, dutifully acknowledging his master. Juhyuk's eyes locked onto the path forward. He decided it was time to forcefully power level himself first. The very next day, a heavy leather boot stepped firmly onto a sunlit wooden bridge. Juhyuk looked around the lush, green environment with a confident smirk, asking aloud if they had finally reached the Zeph Mountains. Unbeknownst to him, two shady figures peeked out from behind the thick bark of a nearby tree, carefully watching his every move. A heavily armored knight narrowed his eyes, wondering exactly who this bold newcomer was. A glowing red system interface locked onto Juhyuk's face, flashing a bright, unmistakable warning: full chaos. An archer smirked with raw greed, nudging his armored boss. He pointed out the chaos status, eager for the massive reputation boost of taking down a notorious red player. Watching Juhyuk casually saunter by, the archer scoffed. He noted how super weak Juhyuk looked in his basic items, assuming the fool had died a ton on the way there. The knight's eyes sharpened coldly. He confidently deduced that Juhyuk was just a typical noob suffering from severe tunnel vision. Gripping the steel hilt of his massive broadsword, the knight readied his stance with a heavy metallic clack. He called out to his men to get ready. The squad of heavily armed players stood shoulder to shoulder in the forest shadows, weapons drawn. The leader's voice was grim as he officially ordered them to prepare for battle. Glancing around the sunlit forest, he thought to himself, "Are there no enemies around here?" Suddenly, crackles of purple lightning sparked behind him. A holographic system window popped up, warning him that an external force was attempting to bind him. "Ahem," he murmured, noticing the alert. Turning to see a robed figure casting a spell with shimmering sparks, he questioned, "What? Bind me?" The robed mage gaped in shock, his magic fizzling out. "He's resistant to binding magic," he gasped. Next to him, a red-haired warrior grunted, The young man casually brushed off his shoulder, unfazed by the fading magic. He thought, "It's only making me itchy." By the looks of his shabby items, I'd guess he dropped a bunch of his gear from dying so many times. He must be a monk class then. Hidden in the foliage, an archer drew his bow with a sinister grin. "Perfect," he schemed. "Killing a full chaos player will be just enough to raise my reputation to hero." The red-haired warrior turned to his armored companion. "Save the chit-chat for after we get him," he ordered. "You make it so he can't use warp or blink. Kim, you're with me. We'll be on the offensive." With a powerful leap, the attackers sprang from the bushes. Two armored warriors descended upon him from above, their massive weapons poised to strike. Looking up calmly, the young man warned, "If you turn back now." His eyes narrowed sharply as he finished his sentence. "I won't have to kill you." The red-haired warrior let out a furious battle cry. "Ridiculous." With a resounding clash, the warrior's blade struck the young man's unseen barrier. "We don't fall for bluffs, full chaos," the warrior yelled. Unbothered, the young man calmly asked, "What's your level?" The warrior's eyes widened in sheer disbelief. "It bounced off him," he thought, panicked. "Kim," the warrior bellowed, as the armored knight swung a colossal hammer down towards the dark-haired youth in a sweeping arc. Metallic clang echoed through the forest as the massive weapon struck a brilliant green energy shield. The young man simply stood there, humming in thought. "Huh," the knight gasped in surprise. The red-haired warrior panicked, yelling, "Kim, group attack." A flurry of strikes hammered against the green barrier with heavy metallic clangs, while the archer released a high-speed arrow with a sharp whistle. The attacks deflected harmlessly off the glowing shield. Evaluating the threat, the young man thought, "Big sword here is around level 40, knucklehead must be 20 or so. His armor's clearly crap, and I didn't see him cast any spells either." The archer broke into a cold sweat, realizing the dire situation. "Did he cast one before we attacked?" he thought frantically. "Boss," the archer shouted, "I think he came ready for a fight. He set us up." The red-haired warrior turned back in disbelief, yelling, "He what?" As another massive swing clanged uselessly against his barrier, the young man muttered, "Yeah, I'm not in any trouble here." Purple dark energy flared around him as he dropped into a basic fighting stance. He thought, "I should start attacking soon, but since I can't use any skills, I guess I'm going in with my fists." The archer screamed in sheer terror, "Watch out, he's about to cast a spell." Reeling back his fist, which glowed with intense golden light, the young man prepared to strike. The archer frantically yelled, "It's gonna be a big one. Get back while I shoot my disenchant." Before the archer could finish, a thunderous explosion erupted as the young man's fist slammed into the armored knight, sending a shockwave through the air. "Boss," the knight screamed as he was launched backward. The red-haired warrior watched in horror, yelling, "You gotta be kidding me." A system notification confirmed his full chaos status was maintained as his killer icon darkened, warning him that his sins grew deeper. He stood enveloped in dark, menacing energy. "You bastard!" the red-haired warrior roared, charging forward with his shield raised high. With a heavy thud, the young man's palm struck the warrior's shield, unleashing a massive burst of light and sending the warrior flying. Dark energy still seeping from his fists, the young man sighed in disappointment. Wasn't he supposed to be a tank? The remaining party members stood frozen in fear. The archer swallowed hard, muttering, I didn't even have time to help. A hooded mage beside him squeaked, "We're screwed, aren't we?" Sweating profusely, the archer yelled, "Everyone run! We're no match for him. Retreat, that's an order." Turning on his heel, the archer dashed into the trees. "Move out, people, pronto," he yelled, thinking to himself. "We misjudged him. He's no average mage." But in a flash, a terrifying figure with glowing eyes and a wicked smile materialized right behind him, gripping his shoulder. The archer's pupils shrank in utter dread. "How is he so fast?" he thought in panic. The young man leaned in with a sinister smirk and whispered, "You are free to attack me all you liked." Sending chills down the archer's spine, the dark-haired youth continued, "But running away won't be as easy." The archer shuddered, realizing he used blink. Terror consumed the archer as he concluded. That means he was just messing with us earlier. A horrifying realization dawned on him as he pictured a legendary figure descending from the moonlit sky. There's only one player who could pull this off. The level 60 short-range battle mage, Rupendel, the player hunter. A devastating impact echoed out. With a soft chime, the young man stood victorious amidst fading light as the archer collapsed to the ground, disintegrating into pixels. "I'm at level 16 already," the young man stated calmly. A system message appeared reading, "You have shown no mercy to those who sullied your honor." A small, white-haired old man with facial markings cheered with sparkles in his eyes. "That's my master." A cascade of notifications filled his vision. The elder's allegiance strengthened, activating an inactive status. "Charisma 10, he read aloud. I don't know what that is, but it sounds good." The old man dropped to one knee with a swift thud. The young man turned and greeted him. "Master, hey, Luxo." Luxo looked up with intense seriousness. "There is something I must show you. Would you accompany me?" The young man blinked in silent confusion, unsure of what the old man meant. A breathtaking view of a lush, mountainous landscape bathed in sunlight was revealed, titled Skyevil Sanctuary. A loud snap echoed as a boot crushed a dry twig on the dusty ground. With deep bags under his eyes, the young man grumbled in frustration. "Damn it! I didn't think that meant walking for a whole week." Recalling how Luxo had randomly summoned a massive blue portal in the middle of nowhere, he complained. "Why is this place so far away? He randomly asked me to follow him, and I did. But now he's opening a portal in the middle of a desert. Is this what Christopher Columbus had to go through? When we began the trip, I got a step-up point," he remembered with a bright, excited smile as a system window chimed. His expression quickly morphed into pure exhaustion and dizziness. "But now it's been a week of nothing but walking." Dragging his feet alongside a group of robed figures through the barren path, he thought, "I haven't seen any monsters or even animals. I've only been getting by on water this whole time, and that's only possible because my stats are 99, but I'm hitting my limit." A voice called out softly, "The village is ahead, master." He stuttered, asking if it was true. Overjoyed, he shouted, "Finally, we're here. Now for some food." "We are here, master," Luxo announced. Before them lay a horribly desolate, run-down village consisting of little more than wooden shacks and dry dirt. A gust of dry wind blew past as the group stood at the village entrance. The young man stared blankly and asked, Are you sure?" Luxo simply replied, "Yes." Pale and sweating, the young man thought, "I don't like the looks of this. I can smell my master's nonsense all over this place." The impoverished villagers murmured in awe as they saw him. "Oh, the Supreme Being has come," one exclaimed. "He must be here to save us," another chattered with tearful hope. A notification pinged, activating a side quest to restore the dilapidated village. As the villagers cried out, "It's the Supreme Being, we bow before him," he forced a smile while thinking, "I don't know if my body can hold out." With a series of clacks, the entire village dropped to their knees in reverence as the young man stood awkwardly at the entrance. An incredibly old man with a wooden staff approached. It was Prophet Cal's. "You have come," the prophet rasped. "Praise upon thee." Later, a campfire crackled near a steep cliff face, illuminating the poor shacks. "So to sum it all up," the young man began. Sitting across from Luxo by the fire, he recapped. "The 12 elders were fostered way out here, far from the eyes of a long-forgotten empire, and those 12 elders scoured the world looking for the heir of the Supreme Being. But no monsters or animals call this land home, and it can't support any agriculture. So you've all been living in endless poverty, waiting for me to return?" Luxo bowed slightly. "Yes, praise upon thee." Prophet Cal's spoke with a somber expression. "I am afraid that was not possible. Neither the elders nor villagers may bring any items from the outside world here." The young man looked at the starving, emaciated villagers bowing before him. He thought, "So basically, the first thing on my agenda is figuring out a way to keep these guys from going hungry." "Luxo," he called out sharply. Luxo immediately knelt with a swift rustle of his robes. "Yes, master." How much longer will these people last without me? He asked seriously. Luxo looked down in sorrow, replying, at best, a fortnight, master. With a deep sigh, the young man stood up from his rug. He took purposeful steps out into the village, leaving the kneeling elder behind. His voice boomed loudly, echoing through the settlement. Hear me. Standing atop a high, sunlit peak overlooking the dilapidated village, he hollered down to the desperate crowd gathered below. I am fully aware of your yearning and hunger, he shouted. All this time, I was absorbed in training with my master, so I couldn't look after you. Tears streamed down the villagers' faces as he continued his passionate speech. But things are different now. I will swear my heart and soul for all of your sakes. A fortnight is plenty of time, so wait just a bit longer. System windows popped up, declaring that his favor with the Skydevil NPCS and his allegiance had increased. He smirked smugly, thinking, heh, that was easy. He commanded the old man with a firm tone, Luxo, follow me. It will be faster with just the two of us. He then added, tell the other elders to look after the village. The old man bowed respectfully, replying, yes, master. Striding confidently out of the village gates, he turned to his companion. We're short on time, Luxo, he said as their boots thudded against the dirt. Glancing back with determination, he ordered, once we get out of here, take care of all the monsters and bring me any monster stones or items they drop. Luxo nodded loyally, yes, master. 1 week into their journey, the pair found themselves trekking through the breathtaking peaks of the Rifnia Mountains. Luxo trembled with sheer admiration as he praised his leader. Oh, master, you really prepared everything right on time. Juhyuk flashed a confident, knowing smirk and calmly replied, of course I did. Sitting comfortably on a large rock beside a massive pile of bulging magic pouches, Juhyuk thought to himself, I mean, I did pick the easiest thing to buy in bulk, given the urgency. He firmly concluded his thought, but we gotta get the small stuff out of the way first. Back in the city, a blue system interface chimed brightly in front of Se, alerting her of a quick message. The message was from Juhyuk casually asking, hey Se, can you do me a favor? Intrigued by the sudden text, Se typed back, what kind of favor? Juhyuk casually dropped the bomb. I need 800 cans of porridge in a magic pouch. Bring them to Rifnia Mountains like last time. Se stared at her glowing screen in utter disbelief. She thought, now what? He needs 800 cans of porridge. Remembering their earlier encounter, Juhyuk had handed her a heavy pouch, saying, first, we need to get the food ready through Se. Just take this as payment. Confused, Se had asked, but Juhyuk, why on earth do you need all this? The payment wasn't just anything. It was a radiant bluestone that illuminated the shadowy forest. Se gasped in shock. A bluestone? Did you get a sponsor? These things are expensive. Juhyuk simply chuckled at the ridiculous notion. He scratched the back of his head with a sheepish grin and instructed, just sell it for me and take 10%. Se could only stare speechlessly as the gemstone sparkled brightly in her palm. As Se slowly turned to leave, still recovering from the shock, Juhyuk called out his second instruction. Second, sell the bluestone Luxo found while hunting. Oh, and buy 3 warp portals on the way for me. He mapped out his grand plan. Third, purchase warp portals and set up warp points. That will greatly shorten the 1-week on-foot travel time from Rifnia Mountains to Skyevil Sanctuary and finally Skyevil Village. A single bead of sweat trickled down his smiling face. He thought, it's perfect, besides the cost of 3 warps, that is. The scene shifted back to the remote village, where a solitary candle flickered dimly in the gloomy darkness. Eryuta, the 12th elder, sat with his hands tightly clasped, his face etched with bitter frustration. He muttered, he has let us deteriorate to this point all this time. Unable to contain his boiling anger, Eryuta slammed his fist violently onto the wooden table. He roared, but now the alleged heir appears, and we must blindly follow him with a smile. His voice dripped with rebellious intent as he thought of the other leaders. First Elder Luxo may do so without a second thought, but not every elder is of the same mind. We will do what needs to be done if anything goes wrong. Suddenly, the sound of loud clamoring echoed from outside his tent. Eryuta glanced toward the entrance as someone shouted joyfully, the Supreme Being has returned, and he comes bearing gifts. Puzzled by the sudden commotion, Eryuta lifted the heavy tent flap to see what was causing the massive uproar. His jaw dropped instantly. Standing before him in the bright sunlight was Juhyuk, casually observing towering mountains of neatly stacked canned porridge. Flashing a triumphant grin, Juhyuk announced to the crowd, these are your provisions. As much as I'd like to shower you with milk and honey, your stomachs may struggle to handle it after starving for so long. Eryuta stared in absolute disbelief, his mind racing wildly. He stuttered, how did he get so much food? Juhyuk continued smoothly, first just have faith and follow me. The starving villagers clustered around the cans, their eyes wide with intense longing. They murmured excitedly, their chatter filling the air as they rejoiced over seeing real food again. The crowd erupted into thunderous cheers, hailing Juhyuk as the Supreme Being. As system alerts confirmed their deepening allegiance, Juhyuk's eyes glinted menacingly in the shadows. He thought with absolute smugness, yes, that's it. Maintaining his authoritative persona, Juhyuk ordered, "Pass these out to the villagers with Luxo." Eryuta immediately bowed low, yielding to the command. "As you command." Juhyuk turned toward the tent, saying, "I'm gonna rest inside. I'm counting on you too." The villagers continued their joyous hails in the background. Once safely hidden inside the tent, Juhyuk wiped his brow with a sigh. He planned his next moves. "I'll have to get them all better food, clothes, and housing, but for now, maintaining their food supply will keep me busy." A hesitant voice called out from the flap, asking for permission to enter. Juhyuk casually replied, "Huh, sure." The fabric swished aside violently as Eryuta rushed in, his eyes brimming with dramatic tears. He cried out, "Master!" Juhyuk blinked in surprise, recognizing the 12th elder. Without warning, Eryuta threw himself onto the dirt floor, his hands slamming down as he bowed deeply. He shouted, "Forgive my lack of faith." A blue system alert chimed, congratulating Juhyuk for earning the 12th elder's acknowledgement. Juhyuk stared blankly down at the man, thinking, already, he was easy. Eryuta dramatically cleared his throat, his face a mess of dramatic emotion. "Though you are our shepherd, I dare doubt you, master." Juhyuk hesitated for a split second, still reeling from the sudden twist. He thought, "I thought this would take ages." A wicked, predatory grin slowly spread across Juhyuk's face in the darkness. He thought, "But I already have another one on my side." Standing victoriously over the prostrating elder, an aura of absolute triumph surrounded Juhyuk. He thought, "Awesome." Playing the part of the benevolent ruler perfectly, Juhyuk reached down and gently patted Eryuta's tense shoulders. Juhyuk knelt gracefully until he was eye level with the groveling elder. Eryuta glanced up, his voice trembling with newfound hope. With a warm, forgiving smile, Juhyuk confessed softly, "I'm still not at my full power. All my abilities are being restricted." He gently gripped Eryuta's cloak, his expression turning deeply empathetic. "So I understand why some of you would doubt me. I would too, and yet." Juhyuk leaned closer, his voice reassuring and firm. "You have faith in me." Beaming like a true saint bathed in divine light, Juhyuk promised, "Eryuta, your faith will be rewarded." At those words, the dam broke. Tears freely trickled down Eryuta's weathered cheeks as immense guilt washed over him. He sobbed, "I have been unfaithful." He wailed in absolute surrender, "Please forgive me." The system finalized Eryuta's complete devotion. While outwardly consoling the crying elder with gentle pats, Juhyuk wore a terrifyingly devious smirk. He thought, "What a pushover." With the elder securely in his pocket, Juhyuk mentally shifted gears. He recalled, "Oh right, I'm up to level 19, so I have step-up points." He pondered his next course of action, thinking, maybe I should go to that place to test out my stats. Reviewing his options, he considered Luxo's warning. Luxo said the Empire would get suspicious if he makes any more moves, and the same goes for the other elders. An eagle soared gracefully over the lush forests of the Rifnia Mountains. Juhyuk concluded, so going with someone stealthy like Eryuta is best. Out in the wild, the ground shook beneath a thunderous roar. A monstrous giant bear towered over Juhyuk and Eryuta, bearing its razor-sharp fangs. Juhyuk looked at the beast with absolute boredom. His deadpan expression spoke volumes as he asked, "I've never seen this guy before. Is it a giant bear?" Eryuta swiftly drew his twin daggers with a sharp metallic ring, offering to kill the beast. Juhyuk raised a hand to stop him, casually deciding he would do it himself. Juhyuk analyzed the beast, noting that giant bears were usually level 40 monsters that required a large party to defeat. A smug memory surfaced. He thought, "Oh, that reminds me of the group of players I took out all by myself." The bear didn't care about his reminiscing. It lunged forward with explosive speed and a terrifying bellow, ready to tear him apart. But the massive creature abruptly halted its charge, staring at the empty space where Juhyuk had just been standing. Confusion visibly radiated from the bewildered beast. High above, Juhyuk descended like a meteor wrapped in a blazing aura. He declared with terrifying glee, "This one bear." With a devastating downward punch, he smashed into the bear's skull. A blinding pillar of destructive energy erupted as he finished. "Will be all mine." The massive predator was instantly flattened, crashing into the dirt with a heavy thud, totally obliterated by a single strike. As system alerts notified him of the massive gold and experience gains, Eryuta laughed nervously from the sidelines. He praised his master's expected victory, though Juhyuk looked genuinely shocked. The bear's corpse dissolved into glowing blue data fragments. Juhyuk stared at his hand in disbelief. He wondered, "I didn't think he'd die from one punch. Is he weak? Or am I just strong? At least I'm sure of one thing now." Swiping away the interface, he turned to his loyal follower. "Let's move, Eryuta. I think I can handle Aantium Dungeon now." Eryuta snapped a crisp salute, eager to follow. A few days later, the duo walked in silence across the cracked, rocky floor of a gloomy cavern. They finally arrived at a massive stone archway housing a swirling blue portal. Juhyuk gazed at the entrance to the Aantium Dungeon and declared, "We're here." Eryuta narrowed his eyes, sensing the chaotic energy swirling within. He noted the intense presence, to which Juhyuk replied with a dry, knowing tone, "Yeah, you would." The Aantium Dungeon was famous for being a beginner-friendly area near Urkas. Because it offered a step-up point, the cavern was absolutely bustling with brightly uniformed academy students and seasoned guild instructors. Juhyuk chuckled softly to himself, a confident glint in his eye. He thought, I knocked out a giant bear with one punch. I wonder how good these guild instructors are. Ready for action, Juhyuk ordered his stealthy companion. I'm going in, Eryuta. Use your stealth mode and follow me. Eryuta bowed his head respectfully as they prepared to step through the glowing portal. At the dungeon neutral zone, two students walked tentatively. One admitted, it is my second time coming here and I am still scared. His friend nodded, same. Another student muttered hopefully, I hope I can beat it this time, but suddenly snapped his head to the side, eyes wide in shock. A dark, ominous aura poured from an approaching figure. The students panicked. Whoa, is that a chaos player? One gasped. Another yelled, hurry, go tell the instructor, sir. There is a chaos player here, come quickly. A golden-armored instructor marched forward, his face hardening as he asked, a chaos player. The atmosphere grew heavy with impending doom, as the instructor thought that the boy was in for a world of pain. Meanwhile, Arthur recalled a frustrating discovery. While killing monsters on the way to the dungeon, he realized they were not dropping any loot. He had thought, what? Why is not anything coming out? I found out any monsters I kill will not drop any items. Curious and slightly alarmed, Arthur opened his system interface, thinking, status window, do not tell me. His face went pale with despair as he saw his luck stat sat at -99. He grumbled, is this also killing my drop rate? Having -99 luck has way too many side effects. Annoyed and tired of useless grinds, Arthur sighed. It would be nice if I could get the elders to deliver the final blow. They all die in one hit anyway. Snapping back to reality, he noticed a man approaching and said, hey, you there. The armored instructor stomped up to Arthur with a glare, demanding, what are you scheming, you rat? Arthur stared back in pure confusion. Arthur remembered C's warning about the high-level guild instructors stationed here and how he still owed her a burger. His sweat dropped, thinking, C did warn me, but I did not think I would get in a fight before I even walked in. The instructor barked impatiently. I asked you a question, rat? Arthur nonchalantly twisted a finger in his ear and replied, yes, and it was very impolite. The golden-armored man crossed his arms, looking down his nose. I have dealt with scores of players like you. Leave now, and I will let you live. The instructor's eyes flared with a bright green light as he activated a scanning skill. A digital interface appeared in his vision, analyzing his target. He scoffed, noting the boy was only level 19 with no visible gear. He smirked inwardly. Arthur, level 19, he cannot use stealth, so he is trying to hunt students. He is the kind of trash who kills others for items to sell. He is even full chaos. I could reach hero rank if I take him out. The instructor laughed aloud, mocking Arthur. Ha! Are you angry that you have no skills, so you came to take it out on students? Arthur's eyes went half-lidded as he replied flatly, what? Waving his hands to dismiss the ridiculous accusation, Arthur chuckled. I would rather just move on with all these students here, but why do you not get back to teaching, teacher? I am only here to clear the dungeon. The instructor's face contorted in rage. As if I would believe the words of a piece of trash. I already know exactly why you are here. A system alert warned that the neutral zone would expire in 5 seconds. Playing the hero, the instructor shielded the students, declaring, do not worry, everyone, just stay behind me. The students swooned, thankful for the holy guild instructor. As the countdown hit 2 seconds, the instructor gripped his sword handle with a sharp metallic clink, scoffing, HMPH, failures are so bad at bluffing. The timer hit 1. Arthur lazily scratched his neck, sighing, I am not some loser preying on your dumb students. I am just gonna beat the dungeon and go. A crimson light filled the cave as the system announced the neutral zone had vanished due to Arthur's chaos status. The instructor fully drew his glowing sword. Tension shattered as the instructor launched his assault, shouting that it was time to put this smart aleck in his place. With a sweeping gust of air, the instructor leaped, bringing his massive blade down in a lethal arc. With a rush of wind, Arthur caught the razor-sharp blade with his bare hands. Arthur glared coldly, stating, I clearly said, do not mess with me and I will not mess with you. This is my last warning. A shockwave of pure energy erupted around them as the steel violently clashed against Arthur's unyielding palm. The instructor strained against the terrifying force, gritting his teeth. A clanging sound, you bastard. A dense, suffocating aura bled from Arthur. The instructor swallowed hard, realizing this supposed rookie had a hidden skill. Arthur's eye flashed ominously in the shadow. He asked quietly, is this it? Chills ran down the instructor's spine as pure terror took hold. He realized Arthur was hiding something monstrous. Desperate, the instructor swung his sword back, screaming into his comms, damn it, requesting backup. I got a full chaos here, level 19. He roared to the others. He has a hidden ability far beyond his level, and he is very dangerous. Arthur's patience finally snapped. Pulling his fist back as it ignited with golden power, he yelled, "I told you that I was only here to clear the dungeon quietly, so do not mess with me." With blinding speed, Arthur drove his glowing fist straight into the blade, stating, "And that was my last warning." The instructor's eyes bulged in absolute disbelief as he realized the boy just punched his sword. A thunderous explosion tore through the cavern. The instructor screamed for backup right before being engulfed in a massive fireball, sending the students flying backward as they stammered in sheer panic, asking what was happening. A violent gust of wind and debris forced the terrified students to cover their faces. As the smoke cleared with a low hiss, Arthur emerged unscathed, wrapped in dark energy. The terrified students chattered, realizing their teacher was down and the Chaos player was approaching. Arthur's glare pierced the gloom as a terrifying crimson light bled from his eye. He asked darkly, "Do you guys want a piece of me?" The students frantically shook their heads from side to side. Arthur's terrifying expression instantly vanished into a gentle smile as he stated, "Good choice." Turning his back on the trembling crowd, he casually waved, "Finish your quests and make something of yourselves. Adios." As he walked deeper into the cave, a stunned student mumbled, "He is just going," while another scrambled to call for a new instructor. Moments later, alone in the shadows, Arthur sighed with a tinge of guilt. "I really did not mean to kill any students. I feel awful." Suddenly, he paused. A clinking sound echoed off the walls. Arthur smirked, noting he had found his target. He stood before a towering stone structure swarming with heavily armed skeletons. "The middle section of the dungeon," he observed. "So this is a defense tower, and there are tons of skeleton soldiers, too." A wicked grin spread across his face. "Well, if I knock this down and destroy the end base, then I am done according to the guidebook." Walking calmly toward the undead army, he reasoned, "But it is a waste for me to kill the monsters, and they do not drop anything." With a booming leap that shattered the ground beneath him, Arthur launched himself into the air, declaring, "So let us just knock down the tower." The tower's defenses activated, firing a massive beam of destructive energy. The system urgently advised him to flee. Instead of retreating, Arthur bared his teeth in a wild grin, his fist glowing with immense heat. "I am guessing 10 hits will do." He slammed his fist into the stone wall with an earth-shattering boom, cheering, "Oh yeah, there is one." Blinding golden light erupted from his knuckles as the thick stone began to violently splinter. Massive glowing cracks spiderwebbed across the entire length of the giant tower. The colossal structure crumbled into dust instantly. Arthur blinked, utterly bewildered. "Huh, just one and done." He landed softly in the rubble. "There is no way a defense tower is this weak. This is a defense tower, is not it?" He shrugged it off with a smile. "Whatever, I will not question a good thing." Without wasting another second, Arthur darted deeper into the dungeon. "Let us clear this quickly." Shortly after, a party of high-level guild members arrived at the clearing, stopping in their tracks as they gasped in shock at the devastation. "He took out the defense tower already?" one of the women asked, baffled. "Was not he level 19? Another member stared at the perfectly intact skeleton army wandering aimlessly. "I do not get it. How did he do it so fast all by himself? He did not even touch the skeleton soldiers. Are you sure he does not have a special item?" Before they could process the scene, the guild leader perked up at the sharp chime of a system alert. The holographic blue window flashed before them, declaring the Aantium Dungeon had been cleared. The entire party stood paralyzed in disbelief, screaming that it was completely impossible. Deep inside the dungeon, the protagonist wiped a bead of sweat from his cheek as skeleton soldiers surrounded him with clanking armor. He sighed, "Hugh, why are there so many skeleton soldiers? Real level 19s must have a rough time here." Pushing through the undead horde, he spotted a massive, glowing red crystal encased in gold. He observed, "Okay, so I am guessing this is the end base." With a swift slide of his boots against the dirt, he lunged forward, gathering energy. He shouted, "Well then, let us see if it lives up to its name." His fist glowed with fierce, crackling power as he wound up for a devastating punch. He grinned confidently. "There is no way this will go down in one hit, right?" A blinding explosion erupted as his fist made contact, obliterating the crystal in a spectacular blast of light. Stunned by his own strength, he blinked and let out a bewildered huh. As the dust settled, the system confirmed the end base shield was destroyed. He lowered his fist in disappointment and muttered, "The shield is like totally gone. Who makes shields this weak?" Shrugging off the underwhelming victory, he sprinted back through the cavern with a swift whoosh. He reasoned with a smirk, "Well, I bet the other instructors are on my tail." He unleashed a final, explosive attack that shattered the remaining obstacles into oblivion. The system officially congratulated him on clearing the Aantium Dungeon. He thought, "So I better finish this fast." The system prompt rewarded him with a step-up point. He brushed off his jacket as rocks crumbled around him and chuckled, "Man, this really is a low-level dungeon." That crumbled with one hit too. Deciding to use his newly acquired step-up point, a brilliant flash of blue light enveloped him. The system chimed, confirming he had reached level 20. He smiled brightly. Nice. Now I can go to the fields of darkness. He paused, the excitement fading from his face as a sudden realization hit him. He muttered, but wait, I thought I would be hounded by instructors by now. Are they waiting back at the entrance? Swiping through his glowing system interface, he pondered his next move. He reasoned that would be better. How many could there be? Emerging from the shadows, he confidently predicted, I am sure I could take on about 5. Hopefully they are level 50 and up. But as he stepped into the light, his jaw dropped. Whoa. An intimidating line of 7 fully geared instructors blocked his path. He stared at them and sighed. 7. There are more than I thought. The lead instructor, a woman with sharp blue hair, glared at him furiously. She yelled at the top of her lungs, listen here, head of evil foes. He tilted his head in sheer confusion, looking around the empty cavern. He asked foes, is there anyone here besides me? He then whispered to his stealthy companion, Eryuta, did you take off stealth? A floating disembodied head nervously replied, no. The blue-haired instructor stepped forward with a righteous aura. She declared firmly, I know exactly why you are here. If a fight breaks out, he will use it as an excuse to attack the students. And I strongly suggest you do not start a needless battle. I have to stop that at least that much from happening. He glared back silently, his crimson eyes glowing with an intense, intimidating pressure. He thought to himself, are they waiting to see what I will do? Cannot they just let me go? The instructor's gaze drifted to the terrified students huddled behind a glowing portal. She reasoned internally, well, it is likely a few more students will die if we fight. They cannot even protect themselves, so killing them is no fun. She finally stated, I will let you leave this time. I know you do not wish for any senseless deaths either. He lazily picked his ear and sighed in exasperation. Yeah, I got it. I was not going to fight you anyway. He added as he turned to leave, I told your friend to just leave me alone too. Walking past the tense crowd of instructors and trembling students, he kept his eyes straight ahead. He thought, I need to get to the fields of darkness now. Fighting can wait till later. As his silhouette vanished into the depths of the cave, the blue-haired instructor let out a long, heavy breath. She called out softly, Zergal. An older instructor wiped sweat from his brow, smiling in relief. Thanks to you, no one got hurt this time around. She responded coolly, it was nothing. The blue-haired instructor's expression darkened. She argued, but we cannot just let him get away with killing Mr. Luther and those innocent students. His approach here was extremely methodical. The way he cleared the dungeon so quickly means that he obviously had others around here helping him. Her voice rose in frustration as she commanded the group. And he knows we have all these kids to protect. We have to force him out of here. Get back to the dungeon entrance, everybody. The older instructor, Zergal, looked concerned. There must have been someone using stealth, he noted. The students would be the prime target in the event of a battle. But who is this man? She narrowed her eyes, still rattled by the encounter. I am not sure. I just know by his aura that he is a full chaos player. As her ominous words hung in the air, she speculated, there is a high chance he is Rupendel. Rupendel is over level 50, though. He could be using a cheat to hide his real level. The name echoed with a dark, terrifying weight, Deathnell. Elsewhere in the dark woods, a brutal slaughter was taking place. 2 terrified players screamed as a vicious red slash tore through them. A shadowy figure cloaked in dark, swirling energy stood over his dying victims. One of the bleeding players choked out, you better watch your back. E&C has people hunting you down, you know, you full chaos bastard. One of these days, I will get you for sure. The attacker, a wild-eyed man with blue hair, burst into a maniacal cackle. Ahaha, hurry up and log out already. The system identified him as Rupendel, a full chaos user. He sneered, and thanks for all of your items. Rupendel greedily reached for the loot bags dropped by the dead players. He snickered, hee, nothing beats item farming. Tossing a heavy loot bag into the air and catching it, he mumbled to himself, E and C are gunning for me, huh? I have never even run into one of their guys before. Although I have seen tons of posts saying so-and-so spotted me. He stared off into the gloomy horizon, piecing things together. Is there another full chaos player impersonating me? I heard there was a big hullabaloo over in Aantium Dungeon. I could have a guild coming after me if things get any worse. He gripped the loot bag tightly, the leather creaking under his fingers. He muttered darkly, and that is not a position I am inclined to be in. His eye twitched with a psychotic glint as he came to a violent conclusion. He thought so. Surging with dark crimson energy that warped the air around him, Rupendel declared, I will have to take this into my own hands. All I have to do is find the guy and kill him, right? Meanwhile, back in the bright and bustling Skyevil village, the protagonist arrived with his entourage of elders. He looked around the sunny village and stated plainly, my next destination will be crawling with monsters. Are there any elders who specialize in area of effect magic? The village elders flinched, exchanging nervous glances. A man with green hair and a distinguished older gentleman with white hair stood in stunned silence. The white-haired elder nervously nudged his green-haired companion. He muttered softly, for that, I suppose the best choice is. Suddenly, a purple-haired elder shot her hand into the air with frantic eagerness. I am the one you want, master. She volunteered enthusiastically. He looked at her, mildly surprised, and replied, oh, yeah. She flashed a wide, creepy smile from beneath her hood. He ordered, then you are coming with me. We leave immediately. She bowed her head, her eyes gleaming with fanatical devotion as she whispered, yes, master. Walking through the village, a soft smile crossed his face. He thought warmly, Se's birthday is coming up soon. He arrived at the massive, desert-like expanse known as the Fields of Darkness. Determined, he told himself, maybe I can finally be a good big brother this time. I will grind really hard to get her something nice, and then I will buy a nice apartment later. The desolate fields were already packed with other armored players, casually chatting and hunting. A system notification popped up, stating that monsters would regenerate in 10 minutes. He checked the timer and murmured, that is pretty soon. With a swift motion, he turned to the cloaked elder behind him. You ready, Jetta? He asked. She dropped to one knee with a resounding thud and shouted, yes, master. Her voice echoed across the plains with terrifying zeal. Whether my bones are broken or my skin is tattered, I shall follow your orders to the end. Sixth Elder Jetta stared up at him with wide, bloodshot eyes and a massive, unhinged grin that stretched from ear to ear. Emitting a blinding, chaotic aura, Jetta cackled wildly. I will dismember all waste that dare stand in your way and burn their corpses in hellfire. Taken aback by her insane energy, he sweat-dropped and replied tentatively, okay, this one is freaking intense. Quickly changing the subject before she could declare another blood oath, he cleared his throat. Anyway, this is the plan. Meanwhile, nearby players began to notice him. He instructed Jetta, take out any players that start crap with us. A guy in silver armor nudged his friend and whispered, oh hey, is not he full chaos? A blonde woman nearby smirked confidently. Good, I haven't boosted my reputation in a while, she noted. Her heavily armored companion agreed, nice timing, before any high-level backup comes for us. They maliciously planned to ambush him, kill all the monsters, and grab the bluestones. There is a lot of competition here. Let us get him first. Then we will escape through the warp. Completely ignoring their plotting, the protagonist turned to Jetta and said, you know that I brought you because you said you are good with area of effect magic, right? He challenged her with a smirk, show me. Jetta's eyes practically glowed with madness as a dark purple aura erupted around her. Ha 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 ha, yes, master, she screamed, completely losing her mind. I shall not disappoint you. Throwing her arms toward the heavens, the sky instantly blackened. Thunder rumbled violently as a massive purple magic circle tore through the clouds. She shrieked, the day of the master is upon us. Devastating lightning bolts crashed into the earth as she roared her invocation. Come forth. A colossal, demonic skeleton crackling with dark lightning materialized from the storm. Jetta bellowed, God of evil, go, obliterate all who stand in the master's way. The giant beast unleashed a deafening roar. The summoned demon slammed its massive fist into the ground, instantly crushing the players who had plotted against them. The ambushers screamed in terror, what is that? Jetta laughed maniacally as the monster rained down absolute destruction. Ahaha, die all of you, the protagonist watched the apocalyptic scene unfold with mild amusement. He chuckled, that is not bad at all. I wish I could use a skill. Heh. Suddenly his smile vanished as ominous system alerts flooded his vision, warning him that his killer icon had darkened and his sins grew deeper. His eyes widened in panic. A massive pillar of dark energy erupted from his body, staining the very air around him. The system announced that his infamy had spread across the continent. He floated slightly, utterly confused, and squeaked out a pathetic huh. A final, glowing purple system window locked his fate into place. His status had been officially upgraded to Dead Man Walking. A system window popped up, detailing the harsh penalties for a full Chaos player. When their infamy reached the Dead Man Walking stage, facing a hero meant decreased attack, defense, and skill resistance. Worse, dying meant a 10-day revival wait and losing all their items. He frowned, a bead of sweat on his cheek as he thought, as the Sky Devil's master, this could be a problem one day. He continued to ponder. I don't even know why this happened, but it can't be that bad, right? System notifications chimed, signaling an increase in his charisma and Sky Devil allegiance. Meanwhile, a chaotic brawl unfolded as an enemy shrieked, You bastard! Do you think you're too good for us? But before they could finish, Jetta cleaved through them with a swift strike. The master muttered, I'll find out later because I have got to straighten things out here first. Panic erupted among the remaining foes as they desperately screamed for backup. After a series of heavy slams and agonizing cries, silence finally fell over the battlefield. The master asked calmly, Are we finished here? Jetta, his sword still drawn, replied, I believe so. The momentary peace was broken as the master gazed out at a rising dust cloud. Oh, here come the monsters, he noted, watching a massive stampede charge toward them. The system announced the arrival of a herd of cow-cows. A massive brown bull-like beast let out a ferocious roar, its eyes glowing with rage. Unfazed, the master smirked and asked, Can you handle them, Jetta? Jetta's face twisted into a maniacal grin as he readied his weapon and screamed, I will skin them alive. The master's smile widened. "Sweet," he said with satisfaction. "Take them down," he commanded. With a powerful leap, he soared high above the charging herd, leaving a trail of energy in his wake. Midair, he pulled back his glowing fist, his eyes locked onto his target. "Here we go," he declared, unleashing his power. Plunging toward the massive beast like a meteor, he shouted, "Try not to die in one hit." His fist connected with the beast's face with a devastating impact, sending a blinding shockwave through the air. System alerts confirmed the kill and a reward of 18,000 gold. Looking at the fallen beasts, he sighed. "I knew that would happen, but still, all it took was one hit again." He shrugged it off. "Oh well, at least the ones Jeddah kills will drop items." He watched the slaughter and added, "I can stick with collecting gold, I gotta make that money." In the background, Jeddah continued to relentlessly slice through the herd. Jeddah became a whirlwind of destruction, his blade flashing in vibrant arcs as he tore through the beasts with brutal efficiency. From the safety of the bushes, two onlookers watched in absolute disbelief. One of them whispered, "He's completely insane. Those are just normal attacks, aren't they?" His companion shook his head, sweating nervously. "That can't be," he replied. "The swordsman is one thing, but the other is clearly a close-range battle mage." "Just look at that damage," he exclaimed, as the supposed mage obliterated another beast with a single explosive strike. The first guy analyzed the situation closely. "A mage, huh?" he questioned. "A bunch of guys jumped him, but he held his ground just fine. He has to be at least level 50. Unaware of his audience, Jeddah ascended into the air, bathed in a brilliant purple light. "For the glory of the master," he roared. Crackling with raw energy, Jeddah unleashed a massive wave of purple lightning, shouting, "Limitless, lightning." A colossal beam of dark purple energy tore across the battlefield. The master watched the devastating display and casually remarked, "Whoa, nice one." A level-up notification appeared in the sky. As Jeddah landed with a heavy thud, the master ordered, "Gather the bluestones during your cooldown." Jeddah bowed low, eager to please. "As you wish, master," he replied. The system tallied 7 acquired bluestones. The master grinned, holding up the loot bags. "Cool, I bet no one has gotten this many this fast," he boasted. Jeddah chuckled beside him, equally pleased. Suddenly, ominous red pillars pierced the ground, accompanied by a system warning that a boss monster had been summoned. The master's smile vanished. "Huh, I was hoping to be out of here by now," he complained. "Wait, a boss monster? Now." The two hidden spectators jolted in shock. "What is that?" one cried out. The other squinted through the foliage, noting, "It looks like a cow butt." A massive heavy hoof slammed into the earth, shaking the very ground beneath them. A thick cloud of steam vented from the beast's flared nostrils as it let out a low, menacing snort. Standing before them was a terrifying, muscular behemoth. "Is that a black cow king?" someone whispered as the colossal boss monster bared its teeth. Staring down the stampeding horde and its giant leader, the master casually remarked, "I've never seen one of those before." Without missing a beat, he ordered, "You take care of the little ones, Jeddah, and grab the drops." Jeddah instantly obeyed, shouting, "Yes, master." Another level-up notification pinged. The master strategized out loud. "It looks like it's stronger than a normal cow, but since it's a field boss, I'm expecting a bundle drop of at least 20 bluestones." He quickly added, "Just for the love of God, don't die from one hit. Jeddah will make the final blow." Suddenly, Jeddah leaned in close. The master glanced over, asking, "What is it?" Jeddah murmured urgently, "A group of people with great power approaches." The master's face fell into a deadpan glare. "Oh, come on," he groaned. "Why now?" He sighed, realizing his timing was terrible. "I guess this is when backup usually shows up. I'm really not in the mood for these guys," he mumbled. As an armed group arrived, shouting for battle positions, the master quickly decided, "Jeddah, let's fall back." They bolted from the scene in a rapid retreat. Jeddah dramatically declared, "The restrictions on my powers have humiliated me, but the continent will soon know the glory of the Skydevil." The master, meanwhile, was only mourning his lost loot, thinking, "My bluestone bundle." Back in the real world, a young man sat in his sunlit room, rapidly clicking his mouse as he scrolled through his monitor. He leaned on his hand, looking intensely focused. "I knew it," he muttered. "There's not a single announcement about a new monster patch." Recalling the dark beast, he thought, the black cow has never appeared before. Was this also caused by my negative 99 luck? He stared at his stats screen, adding, "I can't tell if this is a good or bad sign." He let out a heavy sigh, resting his chin on his hand. "If the black cow king could have survived one punch from me, I would have gotten that bluestone bundle," he lamented. His eyes caught a forum post titled, "No announcement, but hunting grounds suddenly super hard." The post described a brutal experience in the Aantium Dungeon, complaining about a sudden swarm of unkillable black skeleton soldiers that screwed the students over. Another user chimed in, posting an image of a terrifying black giant bear that appeared out of nowhere, desperately asking if anyone had any idea what was going on. A cold sweat broke out on his face as realization hit. Those are all the places I was at lately, he realized with horror. All of this isn't because of me, is it? Then a new post popped up asking about a black monster in the fields of darkness. He blinked in shock, thinking, oh, are they talking about me? The post detailed how a full Chaos player fled the boss, allowing the backup team to kill it and claim 3 bundles of 30 bluestones each. The young man erupted in an agonizing shout, 30 bluestones in 3 bundles. He threw himself onto his bed, tossing and turning in pure agony. Goddamn my stupid negative luck, he cried out. 90 bluestones is like 450 million gold. That fortune was right in front of me. He started crunching the depressing numbers. His current haul wouldn't cover the village's food supply, taxes, or his sister's cut. Slumping in defeat, he realized he only had 15 million won left, and he still needed to buy C a decent birthday gift. His expression flattened into an exhausted deadpan. All things considered, though, he grumbled, I should be buying a house and a car by now. He thought about how the game had completely screwed him over, stripping his level and skills while locking him out of basic areas. These penalties are overkill, he thought bitterly. Gripping his bedsheets, he raised a determined fist. I have no choice, he vowed, but to level up like crazy. The scene shifted to a sleek, dimly lit office. A subordinate bowed respectfully and concluded his report. And so the level of difficulty has sharply increased. That is all, sir. The man at the desk stroked his chin and asked, a black cow, you say? The subordinate nodded gravely. That's right. Its stats are overall much higher than a regular cow. Examining a stack of complex documents, the boss remained unfazed. But it is still a normal monster in the end, he stated. This changes nothing. Continue the hunt as is and bring in more men if needed. Director Juhyuk of the Alliance leaned back in his leather chair, a sinister smile creeping across his face. We have plenty of pawns to spare after all, he noted coolly. Yes, sir, the subordinate agreed. Before he could leave, the director added, oh, and one more thing. The director's expression darkened into a chilling glare. That full Chaos player out in the fields of darkness today looks to be the same guy that keeps messing with us, he observed. Get the intel sorted about him. I want to know if it really is Rupendel. A menacing aura filled the room as he finalized his order. And if he's acting alone, we'll have to teach him a lesson. 3 weeks later, in a sunlit forest, a radiant aura surrounded Han Juhyuk as a system prompt confirmed he had reached level 29. He clenched his fist, a serious look in his eye. Yes, good, he muttered. The elder Luxo hurried over with a worried expression. Master, after 3 weeks of strenuous activity, I fear that your glorious body may be seriously injured, he fretted. Han turned to him and gently replied, Luxo, your concern is appreciated. Staring off into the distance with unwavering resolve, Han stated, but fear not, for I am well. Luxo tried to interject, but master. Suddenly a blazing aura of majestic fire erupted behind Han as he delivered a passionate speech. This flesh of mine may be greatly constricted, but I shall not show a weak constitution, he declared. I will show you the beauty of this world. The world will kneel before the Sky Devil, but that world will not come if I rest. Day and night I will walk toward that world, and I ask only that you aid me. Moved to tears by the sheer majesty of the speech, Luxo's eyes sparkled with deep admiration. He stuttered, completely overwhelmed, oh, master. Throwing himself to the ground with such force that the earth cracked beneath him, Luxo proclaimed, Hail, I shall aid you even as my bones crumble into dust. Han looked down at him, his majestic aura instantly vanishing as he deadpanned. Yeah, you better. Behind his grand facade, Han was actually just daydreaming about getting rich. He laughed maniacally to himself, thinking, I need to buy an apartment, a luxury car, and above all, an entire building, while his loyal servant remained face down in the dirt. His greedy fantasies were interrupted by a sharp system ping. A window appeared, notifying him of a quick message. See, he wondered aloud. An audio message played from his sister, C. She asked excitedly, Did you get this quest too? I did, but it sounds like everyone else did too. Han stared at his interface, utterly bewildered. A quest, he questioned, reading the prompt. The 7 Clerics. Juhyuk stared intently at the glowing blue hologram hovering before him. He murmured. The system displayed a massive new quest to become one of the 7 Clerics. It warned of an ultimate evil that was gathering power, demanding the clerics unite to destroy it. Juhyuk furrowed his brow. He thought, hordes of evil and the ultimate evil. Why do I get the feeling it's talking about me? The game's forums were already blowing up. Players boasted about hunting with bare hands and mocked others for their lack of skills. The trash talk continued as the community bickered endlessly over who would secure the hidden class spots. Resting his chin on his hand, Juhyuk pondered the situation. He admitted he didn't know what those hidden classes were, but if they were tied to Olympus' main story, they had to be absurdly strong. She leaned casually over his chair. Are you not up for trying the 7 Clerics quest, Juhyuk? She asked. He scoffed, pointing out that since his alignment was full chaos, he couldn't even interact with the NPCs to get the quest. Se smiled warmly, admitting she didn't have the time anyway. She mused that only high rankers with endless free time would attempt it. Juhyuk couldn't help but agree. But Juhyuk's anxiety began to spike. The hunting grounds had randomly shot up in difficulty, and worse, he felt like the game was actively painting him as the ultimate evil. Sweat beaded on his face. He just wanted a comfortable life filled with good food and nice things. He grit his teeth and thought, now I gotta stay on my toes. I need to get insanely strong. Without hesitation, he initiated the dive. A bright blue portal formed as the system announced his connection to Olympus. Back in the game, Juhyuk stood before the elders with an authoritative gaze. He declared, I will be leaving on this expedition alone. The elders gasped in sheer shock. Panic erupted. The elders shouted and hollered, desperately begging their master to reconsider such a dangerous solo trip. Juhyuk crossed his arms, his expression grave. He explained that the Airpath Empire had caught wind of their activities, so to keep them safe, he had to travel incognito. The elders were instantly moved to tears. They looked at him with glowing admiration, stuttering out, Master. As Juhyuk walked away, the elders waved frantically in the background. He sighed internally, lamenting that he couldn't use his precious lackeys, but knowing it was better they didn't get hurt. His eyes narrowed with ambition. He realized he needed the other elders to accept him as heir to truly increase his power. Luckily, only 4 elders remained. He mentally checked off the village's food issue, noting that upgrading their worn-down houses was the next logical step. But his confidence shattered at the price tag. He screamed internally, how does a single house cost 300 million gold? Pushing the financial stress aside, Juhyuk sat in a blazing aura to meditate. He needed to hit level 40 immediately so he could use the Shattering Sky Technique and finally open the old master's map. Deep in the forest, 3 monstrous black giant bears surrounded him with a thunderous growl. Juhyuk stood firm, ready to grind like crazy for the coming storm. One of the massive beasts lunged with glowing red eyes. Juhyuk calmly watched the shadow approach. He thought, and while I'm at it. He stood triumphantly among the defeated bears as the system chimed with success. I'll take my stress out on monsters, he finished aloud. Suddenly, a holographic prompt materialized with a soft chime. He blinked in surprise as the system announced a new skill, Fist of Abnormal Strength. He analyzed the glowing text. It was an unarmed attack that dealt random damage, but reduced his attack power by up to 100%. A heavenly spotlight shone down on him as he fell to his knees in pure joy. He cheered, saved, it's a crappy attack skill. He jumped up, laughing maniacally. This was exactly what he needed for item farming. All he had to do was find a loser to deal the final blow for him. Grinning from ear to ear, he confidently pointed ahead. Man, this is perfect. I gotta go home and... A menacing voice cut him off. So this is where you've been hiding. Juhyuk turned to see a figure cloaked in an ominous red aura stepping forward. He stared blankly and thought, why am I getting deja vu? The mysterious man glared at him from beneath a hood, his voice trembling with rage. You've put me in quite a predicament. The man stepped closer, the crimson energy flaring around him as he complained loudly about being blamed for things he didn't even do. Pulling back his hood, the man revealed a crazed, bloodthirsty grin. The system identified him as Rupendel, the player hunter. Juhyuk stared at the hunter completely unbothered. He asked, who are you again? He quietly noted that the guy was a full chaos player, fully decked out in high-level gear. Rupendel threw his hands up in sheer disbelief. He yelled, you really don't know who I am? Do you live under a rock? Juhyuk scratched his head with an innocent smile. He casually replied, nope, I don't have a clue, but you are quite the character. Rupendel visibly seethed with anger. Rupendel's jaw clenched, a sinister smirk creeping onto his face. He hissed, ha, you're really gonna make me spell it out. Exploding with fury, Rupendel screamed, I'm Rupendel, the one you've been impersonating, you lousy imposter. Juhyuk maintained his blank expression. He finally put the pieces together. The guy was just here to drag him back to the angry guild members. Electricity crackled through Rupendel's red aura. He warned Juhyuk that he would be begging for mercy, demanding he pay for using his name. Rupendel arrogantly offered a deal. Come quietly, apologize, and he wouldn't beat Juhyuk to death. Juhyuk just stood there deadpan, with imagined skulls floating in the background. A mischievous grin spread across Juhyuk's face. He taunted, can I just fight you instead, you scared? That was the final straw. A complex crimson magic circle materialized before Rupendel. He roared, now you've done it. With a vicious swing, Rupendel unleashed a massive, blinding red slash that tore through the air straight at Juhyuk. Juhyuk took the hit head-on. The system showed his health bar barely flinched. He looked unimpressed, noting that Rupendel's famous death knell attack only took a measly 3% of his health. Juhyuk realized that despite being in the level 50s, this guy was pathetic compared to the enemies he usually faced. Juhyuk activated his new skill. He clenched his fist as it began to glow, muttering, alrighty then. Golden energy erupted around his right arm. The system confirmed the activation of Fist of abnormal strength, applying a massive 90% damage reduction. Rupendal watched warily from within his swirling red aura. He thought, I guess it was true that he killed that guild leader in one punch. Rupendal's confidence quickly returned. He assumed an attack with such a flashy wind-up obviously had a long delay. Juhyuk kicked off the ground with a powerful burst of speed. He closed the distance in a flash, launching a fierce, glowing punch straight at Rupendal's face. But Rupendal casually activated his blink skill, dissolving into pixels to dodge the devastating blow. Reappearing a few feet away, Rupendal slid to a halt looking smug. He mocked, "Did you dodge that?" Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the air. The protective shield around Rupendal completely shattered. He stumbled forward, realizing his timing was slightly off. Juhyuk pulled his blazing fists back, a frustrated scowl on his face. His damage reduction dropped to 50%. He muttered, "That's a pity. I think I can stand to hit a little harder, though." Rupendal grinned wickedly, dismissing Juhyuk's words as classic time-wasting chatter. He was convinced Juhyuk's skill was now on a long cooldown. Seizing the supposed opening, Rupendal launched himself through the air for a counterattack, shouting that Juhyuk should be defending instead of talking. Before Rupendal could land his strike, Juhyuk effortlessly slammed his glowing fist squarely into the hunter's face. A thunderous explosion of golden energy blasted Rupendal out of the sky. Rupendal skidded violently across the dirt. The system flooded with notifications as all 6 of his protective items and shields broke simultaneously. Pain and shock distorted Rupendal's face. He cursed, realizing his opponent was far tougher than he anticipated. Juhyuk dropped into a sleek fighting stance, energy still crackling from his hands. He noted that Rupendal's sour expression meant the fight wasn't going his way. Annoyed by the enemy's evasive blink skill, Juhyuk glared coldly. He grumbled internally, wishing he had access to his level 55 psychic skill. Pushed to his absolute limit, Rupendal summoned a terrifying, colossal skeleton aura behind him. His eyes glowed with pure malice as he declared he was no longer holding back. The massive skeletal reaper raised an enormous scythe, glowing with deadly magic. Juhyuk raised his fists, unimpressed by the incoming active skill, Heart Attack. The grim reaper's scythe burned with a blinding pink light. Juhyuk recognized the lethal move he had heard rumors about. Deciding to end the games, Juhyuk completely deactivated his active skills. A sinister dark purple aura flared around his body. He smirked and said, "Then I better bring out the big guns." Blinded by rage, Rupendal laughed maniacally. He screamed that Juhyuk was out of skills and it was too late to survive. Juhyuk's foot slammed into the earth, launching him forward with incredible velocity. The 2 warriors collided midair, their opposing auras exploding into a spectacular shockwave of blue, purple, and crimson energy. A thunderous explosion ripped through the air, engulfing the 2 combatants in a blinding flash of blue energy. As the smoke cleared with a soft rustling of leaves, Juhyuk glared downward, his face cast in dark shadows. "I clearly hit him with Heart Attack," he muttered in disbelief. Hovering invisibly over his own lifeless, glowing corpse, Rupendal's spirit panicked. "But he's just standing there like nothing happened," he cried out. "Just where did this monster come from?" Juhyuk casually nudged the glowing body, asking, "Are you really dead?" The system confirmed Rupendal was a dead, invisible spirit. Annoyed, Rupendal cursed his killer, wondering if Juhyuk was some special paladin class. Juhyuk scratched his head with a confused rustle. "Are you just playing dead?" he asked aloud. "Don't tell me I cut through all his defensive magic with my second punch." Rupendal's invisible spirit furiously poked at his own dead face. "Then why would he keep fighting me if all his defenses were broken?" Juhyuk pondered. Overhearing this, Rupendal scoffed in disbelief. He had assumed Juhyuk was way stronger, thinking to himself what a moron this guy was. "And I only lost 10% of my health," Rupendal grumbled, annoyed that Juhyuk made the attack sound so powerful. "Some heart attack that was." Juhyuk, oblivious to the ghost, continued to overthink. "But I guess attacks can have low damage. I still don't get why he would come at me when all his defenses are gone, though." "And why is a full Chaos player not dropping any items?" Juhyuk asked, raising an eyebrow. Rupendal gasped, suddenly realizing his own predicament. "What? I didn't?" he asked the empty air. Juhyuk stood over the dissipating digital particles of the corpse. "Full Chaos players have a 100% drop rate when they die, so what gives?" he wondered. "I'm relieved, but yeah, why? But from the looks of it." Rupendal's spirit spat out a mouthful of spectral blood in sheer shock as Juhyuk deduced the truth. "I destroyed all of his equipped items," Juhyuk concluded. Rupendal trembled as he realized that the sparkly stuff flying around had been his gear. Dropping to his knees, Rupendal wailed in utter despair. "My precious, priceless items are all gone." Juhyuk sighed, clicking his tongue softly. "Aw man, oh well," he muttered. "Items can't drop if they're all destroyed." Crouching down to stretch his legs, a confident smile spread across Juhyuk's face. "At least I know a level 50 player won't be a problem to take on." With a powerful leap, Juhyuk launched himself effortlessly into the forest canopy. I bet the upper-class hunting grounds won't be an issue either, he cheered. Left behind in the lonely clearing, Rupendal glared at Juhyuk's retreating figure. That asshole, he yelled. Tears of absolute rage streamed down Rupendal's face as he gritted his teeth. I'll get you back for this if it's the last thing I do, you goddamn imposter, he shrieked into the void. You'll see. Suddenly, shadowy hands erupted from a dark magic circle beneath him, shackling his spectral form with the heavy clanking of chains. A chilling voice declared, "Spirit shackles." The system coldly confirmed his capture. What the hell? Rupendal screamed, his anger instantly replaced by terror. The shadows swirled into a dark, pulsing vortex. A sinister voice chuckled, "Hee hee, now this is a nice catch." A mysterious cloaked figure stepped out from the dark energy, leaving Rupendal gasping. The necromancer's grin was sharp beneath his heavy hood. "I can't believe I just happened upon a top-prized corpse," he mused with delight. "Today is my lucky day." The shadowy hands gripped Rupendal's face tight. He stuttered internally, wildly wondering who this guy was and what he was doing to him. Reaching out with a surge of dark magical energy, the necromancer spoke. "I only wish I could have gotten the other one as well, but Rupendal is more than satisfactory." A wave of absolute cold dread washed over Rupendal. "God damn it," he whispered helplessly. On the dirt ground nearby, Rupendal's physical, lifeless hand gave a sudden, eerie twitch. With a crackle of strange energy, Rupendal awoke bound within his own physical body. The system warned him that he was restricted by a peculiar force and would be trapped forever if he didn't break free. "Huh, did I come back to life?" he murmured in confusion. The cloaked necromancer pointed a commanding finger at him. "Okay, now give me 10 push-ups. Begin." Rupendal bristled, resisting the strange magical tug. "Huh, are you crazy? Why the hell would I do that?" A blinding bolt of purple lightning violently zapped Rupendal, causing him to scream in pure agony. The system coldly informed him that the spirit shackles would torture him with pain if he disobeyed the user's orders. Forced against his will, Rupendal aggressively did push-ups on a large rock. "Shit, fuck," he cursed loudly. The necromancer counted happily. 1, 2, 3, heh, listen well and there will be no pain. Yes, that's it. Sweating profusely, Rupendal pushed through the grueling exercise. He realized he had never even heard of spirit shackles before, concluding his captor had to be a necromancer. The man cheerfully counted on 4, 5, 6. Analyzing his new captor, Rupendal deduced from the voice and stature that the necromancer was quite young. The cloaked man laughed mockingly. "Ha ha ha, you can't break free, can you? It must be infuriating." A devious plan hatched in Rupendal's mind as he wondered if he could reverse this onto his master by playing his cards right. The necromancer paused suddenly, turning his head as a distant voice called out, "Master." Sensing an opportunity, Rupendal fell to his hands and knees, panting heavily. "That man from before?" he wheezed, looking up at his captor. "You want his corpse, don't you?" A sinister, bloodthirsty smile spread across Rupendal's shadowed face. "Let me help you," he offered dangerously. The heavy tension broke as the scene shifted to the bright, sunny exterior of a W.C. Donald's fast food joint. The glass door chimed with a gentle jingle. "Welcome," a voice greeted. Inside, C's eyes practically sparkled with joy. "Are you really gonna buy me as many burgers as I want?" she asked. Juhyuk smiled easily. "Go for it." She pushed her luck, asking if she could get 2. "Sure, get 2, he agreed. "What about 3? She practically vibrated. "3 it is," he laughed. "Woohoo," she cheered. C stared in sheer awe at the 3 massive, perfectly stacked burgers glowing on her tray. "Yay," she cried happily. She wasted no time, gobbling down the burgers with pure, unadulterated bliss. Juhyuk watched her sip her soda. He had thought of nursing another player, but knew it would be too much of a burden. "So, C," he began casually. "Do you want to start a business with me?" Juhyuk asked. C violently spat her soda across the table in pure shock. Coughing and wiping her mouth, she glared at him. "Are you kidding, Juhyuk? Who starts a business in today's economy?" Juhyuk calmly wiped his own face with a towel. "It's not the kind of business you're thinking," he defended. She sighed, recovering her composure. "Unless you have some capital or some unbelievable insider info, a guild is bound to take the business away from you," she reasoned. "Plus, the market's crashing with all the black monsters appearing now, and I'm about to be promoted, so why don't you give this a bit more thought?" Juhyuk's mind drifted back to his earlier struggles in the forest. "My luck stat is terrible right now," he remembered, thinking over the defeated monsters. "So whether I kill a monster or another full chaos player, I get no item drops." The memory shifted to the cheerful villagers waving him off. "On the bright side, I have some NPCs who are helping me out," he mused, "but it's difficult to use them right now." Meanwhile, back at the diner, C was still reeling from Juhyuk's proposal. "What could you possibly be thinking?" she demanded, exasperated. Keeping his devious smile, Juhyuk smoothly redirected the conversation. "Let's hear about this business, then," he repeated calmly. Returning to the high-stakes tension of the E and C Alliance meeting room, the dark-haired executive prepared his report. The CEO finished his previous thought, emphasizing the strict importance of leaving the unpredictable, itemless chaos players completely alone. The executive clicked a remote with a soft beep. "Well, we don't think it's Rupendal anymore," he announced. He gestured to the projector screen, which displayed frozen footage of the forest battle. "Look at this video," he instructed. "This was recently taken," the executive explained, showing Rupendal mid-strike against Juhyuk. "It's Rupendal fighting the other full chaos player." The CEO raised an eyebrow in the dark room. "Oh, you happened upon quite the video," he remarked. "Rupendal made a mistake here," the executive analyzed, pointing to the flashy impact on screen. "All of his defenses were broken, but he rushed in anyway. It was bad." Highlighting Juhyuk's glowing counterattack, the executive added, "Yes, and according to our analysis of the video, that other player is a very high-level close-range fighter." The room watched in silence. "He looks incredibly young. We assume he acquired a hidden class," the executive speculated. "He's a youth with powers beyond his control, and he's running wild." A sly smile crept onto the executive's face. "And while we were gathering intel, we managed to receive a step-up quest from some NPC nobles." Intrigued, the CEO leaned forward. "Oh, really? What kind of quest?" the executive replied coldly. "We must kill someone called Ramtadian." He pulled up a sketch of a rugged, bearded man. "The nobles believe the full chaos player from earlier is this Ramtadian. Here's a photo." A sweaty board member adjusted his glasses, completely baffled. He looks nothing like the man from the video earlier," he pointed out. "Quite right," the CEO agreed. The executive smirked ruthlessly. "As long as I get the step-up point, I don't care. How many men will I need?" Confident, the executive outlined his bloody strategy. "We believe 30 will be sufficient. Our low-level staff will be your pawns and help cut his health down, and then you can kill him." He added with a wicked gleam, "We're offering 100,000 won in compensation to anyone killed and a 3 million won incentive to the greatest damage dealer." The nervous board member hesitated. "Are you sure that's enough? They'll be risking their lives out there. They'll only die within Olympus, but it still hurts." Chuckling darkly, the executive spread his hands. "Well, a step-up point is on the line, and given our staff's devotion to the company, I expect they'll charge right in. Besides, pain builds character when you're young." Resting his chin on his clasped hands, the CEO smiled menacingly. "Yes, I think those payouts are fair." The CEO broke down the greedy finances. "The bounty on this man is 700 million gold. You would take 200 million, and the 3 directors would take 100 million each. Once the incentive and compensation money goes out, we split the rest among ourselves." "Good, let's do it." A ruthless smirk contorted the CEO's shadowed face. "Yes, 3 million gold is plenty. Who cares whether they die or not, as long as I make money." In the sunlit Rifnia Mountains, birds sang softly in the lush forest canopy. Juhyuk called out to his sister, "Hey, Se, did you get the things I asked for?" Se ran toward him, carrying a heavy stack of books. Se held out the hefty pile and sighed. "They're all right here," she said, looking skeptical, "but are you sure this is all you need?" The scene shifted to a dusty desk scattered with tomes. Se continued, "They're just a bunch of common, low-level magic items. Not even mages use these because of how ineffective they are." Se hesitated and brushed her hair aside. "I don't even think you can learn these after you've chosen your class, which I'm sure you did, based on your level and stats, right?" Juhyuk grinned confidently, flipping open a thick book. "Have you ever heard that saying? Even a blade of grass in the hands of a swordmaster is as good as any blade." Se replied blankly. "I can't say that I have." "This is the same thing," Juhyuk stated. A wicked shadow crossed his smiling face. "As long as the stats are high, even a basic attack can be a deadly blow." The blinding flash of energy, the books glowed and levitated around him. System notifications chimed rapidly, confirming he had learned spells like Light, Fireball, Novice Heal, Damage Up, and Defense Up. Juhyuk smirked and asked, "It's boring to be one-punch man with my stats as they are, don't you think?" Se's eyes bulged in absolute horror. "Oh my god, Juhyuk, don't tell me you didn't pick a class yet?" Juhyuk just smiled casually and shrugged. "So what if I didn't?" Waving her arms in a frantic panic, Se stuttered that there was not a single player with his stats who had not chosen a class yet. She screamed, "You need a class! How do you not have a class?" Slumping in defeat, she groaned, "I wrote my letter of resignation already. I trusted you. You better take responsibility for this." Juhyuk chuckled softly, rolling up his sleeves to reveal his arm wraps. "I know and I appreciate it. We're going to make a name for ourselves as a family." Standing before a system interface displaying her unequipped status, Juhyuk gestured toward her. "Okay, I get that you've never had to cast spells before, and that's why you want to practice Novice Heal on me, but it's just a common spell. It can't be that effective." He nodded. "Well, we'll see." Juhyuk raised a glowing green hand with a hum of magical energy. "And like you said, my stats are high, so I doubt there'll be no effect at all." "Novice Heal," he chanted. A brilliant emerald light washed over Se, making her gasp in surprise. Se blinked, pulling out a red potion. Is that it? Can I drink my potion now? Juhyuk wagged a finger playfully. You don't need to, you're at full health. Huh, she muttered. Se screamed in sheer disbelief, her face cartoonishly exaggerated. How am I dreaming? Juhyuk moved on to the next test with a wave of his hand. I think that's enough practice with a healing spell, so now I'll try the attack and defense buffs. Twin golden arrows pulsed over Se as her stats rose. Try fighting something, he suggested. Se glanced around nervously. Who am I supposed to fight? A skeleton soldier? Juhyuk pointed with a cheerful grin and said, No, look behind you. Se turned around. A massive shadow loomed over them, accompanied by a low, rumbling growl. A giant bear, she squeaked. The enormous beast roared furiously, its eyes glowing a menacing red as it lunged with razor-sharp fangs. Se froze, trembling tightly around her staff. She stuttered out his name, terrified, asking if he really expected her to fight it alone, noting that people usually hunted those monsters in groups. 3 minutes later, a heavy thud echoed as the giant bear collapsed in a cloud of dust, defeated. Se panted heavily, leaning on her staff as Juhyuk cheered in the background. Se dropped to her knees, completely exhausted but amazed. This is crazy, Juhyuk. I can't believe it. He crossed his arms playfully and smiled. Isn't it, though? Do you trust me yet? She sighed deeply. Yeah, I trust you all right. Se held up a glowing azure crystal with wide eyes. Hey, a bluestone. We just made 5,000,001 just between you and me. Now do you see? Juhyuk asked, as visions of cash rained down in Se's mind. If you'd done that for a guild, you'd only get a fraction as an incentive. Now that we're hunting solo, whatever we find is all ours. Juhyuk gestured forward. Let's go level up to 45 in the Fields of Darkness, Se eagerly agreed. A star title card appeared reading, Fields of Darkness. In a barren wasteland, a massive stampede kicked up a dark cloud of dust on the horizon. Juhyuk ran casually ahead while Se watched in terror. Juhyuk sprinted forward, a herd of enraged dark bulls charging relentlessly right behind him. One of the demonic bulls bellowed fiercely, its jaws snapping wildly in the air. Se raised her staff as a glowing magical circle formed beneath her feet. Lightning crackles furiously around her flowing hair. She swung her staff forward with a sharp hiss of energy. Here I go. Lightning bolt, she shouted. A massive, blinding beam of electricity blasted through the horde. The air buzzed with devastating voltage as a chain of system alerts confirmed multiple kills. Se hopped with joy, cheering loudly. Juhyuk waved back casually amidst the disintegrating monster carcasses. Good job, they dropped bluestones too, he praised. Se's arms were full of glowing crystals, her eyes sparkling like coins. Juhyuk, we've already collected 18 bluestones. That's 90,000,001 if we sell them all. Se cheered enthusiastically in the background, declaring she could open her own hamburger restaurant. Juhyuk, however, stared off into the distance, narrowing his eyes with a suspicious, He scanned the desolate terrain, noticing only a few scattered players. Are not that many people here anymore, because of the black monsters. Suddenly, a rogue player leaped at Juhyuk with a flashing blade, screaming, Die, full chaos. Juhyuk sighed, effortlessly dodging the strike. But I guess. Juhyuk punched the attacker with bone-shattering force. Some things never change, he muttered, watching the man fly backward. He turned to his sister and pointed. Someone's coming your way, Se, finish him off for me. Se casually called out, Lightning bolt, zapping the ambusher into a glowing crisp. Juhyuk gave her a thumbs up, and take any items he drops. Se held a dropped pouch, a sweat drop forming on her cheek. I am, but isn't this stealing? Juhyuk watched the sky coldly. They're the ones fighting me thinking I'm a low-level full chaos, and we're only killing the ones who attack us first. They're getting what they deserve, he pointed into the distance. Look, here come some more. The rhythmic sound of heavy boots echoed across the wasteland as a heavily armored platoon marched toward them. A stoic commander led an army of identical knights. Se nervously pointed out that they looked high-level, estimating them to be at least level 50 and gulping at their sheer numbers. Se panicked completely. Then they must be here on a raid. To beat you, don't just stand there, we gotta run. Juhyuk just smirked and casually agreed, yup. The massive army halted, stomping the ground in unison. Juhyuk sighed lazily. I think it's too late for that. A red system prompt blocked their escape, stating they could not leave until the player versus player fight finished. Se burst into dramatic tears and wailed, I'm dead. Juhyuk sent a quick private message to his sister. Don't worry, sis. Just stand back a bit and pretend you don't know me. She looked at him in total confusion. A terrifying, dark aura erupted from Juhyuk as he smiled maliciously. So how many came to kill me? He taunted. I'm giving you a fair warning. I won't kill anyone who doesn't attack me. The opposing commander drew his sword with a sharp metallic ring. It's him, he confirmed coldly. The commander, identified as the Alliance director, shouted to his men, Don't let him get close. Remember our strategy. Mages, bind him, the director ordered. A storm of crimson, glowing chains wrapped tightly around Juhyuk with heavy clanking sounds. Juhyuk merely groaned, yeesh, as a system alert notified him of a successful resistance. Annoyed, Juhyuk stared at them blankly. How many times do I have to tell you? Don't attack me and I won't kill you. With a simple flex of his arms, the magical chains shattered into glowing fragments. A mage frantically chanted, "Fireball," launching a blazing inferno straight at Juhyuk. The director watched, puzzled by the weak assault. A common spell. "Tanks," the commander yelled. Heavily armored knights slammed their massive shields together with a resounding thud. Magic break! A brilliant wall of layered magical defense formed in front of the knights with a deep hum. The commander ordered them to hold the line and not let the common spells break through. The director smirked confidently. Ramtadian is a close-range fighter, so he only knows common spells. Archers, get ready to combo him next. The knights braced themselves behind their shields, hyping each other up to think about the massive incentive money on the line. Amidst the chaos, Juhyuk stood perfectly still, casually scratching his neck without a care in the world. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion obliterated the battlefield. A colossal blast of fire engulfed the knights completely, prompting an archer to scream in utter confusion about the target's identity. The director shielded his face from the fierce shockwave, coughing violently through the dense smoke. "What was that?" he yelled. The director's eyes widened in absolute terror as the smoke began to clear. He stared in disbelief at the disintegrating bodies of his fallen knights, who faded into digital dust with a soft hiss. "They're all dead. That can't be right," he whispered. Surrounded by a sinister purple aura, Juhyuk laughed menacingly. The director's mind raced in a panic. How did he do that? How were they all dead? Was he not a close combat fighter? Sweating profusely, the director stuttered, commanding everyone to stand down. He nervously realized that if the common spell was that powerful, the man had to be a mage. He corrected himself. If the enemy were a mage, the binding chains wouldn't have reached him initially. Yet he was standing there completely unaffected. Unsure of how to fight him, the director silently contemplated a retreat. Juhyuk casually rubbed his chin with a devilish grin. "Wow, they all died just from touching my spell." In a private message, Se noted that she had never seen a fireball have an area of effect like that. Juhyuk snickered and replied, "Yeah, me neither." Se messaged again, asking why they didn't bind him. Juhyuk replied simply, "No." Confused, she asked why he was just standing there and not moving. A chilling dark aura intensified around Juhyuk's body. "Because I'm talking to you. Also, my fireball is still cooling down. I'll be using it on them a few more times." Juhyuk broke into a hysterical, villainous cackle. Se stared at his manic expression, completely deadpan, and messaged back, "Okay, wow, my brother can't think rationally anymore." Footsteps echoed heavily across the barren landscape as Juhyuk faced an army of armored knights. A system window popped up, warning that fireball would be ready in 50 seconds. Juhyuk yawned lazily and muttered, "I am not a big fan of these 1-minute cooldowns." The opposing commander barked, "Archers, be ready to shoot on my order. I do not know what is going on here." The commander marched forward with his troops, deducing aloud, "But he is not a fighter. He must be a mage." A message arrived for the CEO, Jung Sungduram, pleading for emergency backup. "The target is not a fighter. We need at least 30 tanks for magic defense," the message read. Sungduram frowned and asked, "What is the status of the situation?" The response came through, "We have lost 3 people, sir. Thankfully, the target is bound and stuck in cooldown, but if we can finish him off fast, we can keep casualties low." Sungduram narrowed his eyes, thinking, "So our intel was wrong. Whatever the case, he is a tricky son of a gun." He replied firmly, "Understood. I am on my way, so hold him off." He scowled, complaining that even if they split his bounty, they were going to have to use it on supplies. A sword was drawn with a sharp metallic ring, slicing through the air. The commander raised his glowing sword and roared, "Archers, draw." "He may be a mage, but he is still bound. Now is our chance," the commander yelled, his eyes wide with desperate ambition. "Fire," he bellowed. A barrage of glowing arrows whistled through the air, hurtling straight toward Juhyuk. But instead of panicking, Juhyuk merely smirked as the arrows rained down around him. A thunderous explosion engulfed the battlefield in a blinding flash of light and fire. Unfazed by the blast, the commander ordered, "Second line, fire." The riflemen unleashed a deafening volley. "Third line, fire." Another wave of arrows was loosed with sharp twangs. "Send out a constant stream of attacks. Do not give him a second to breathe. Focus." The battlefield erupted into a massive, fiery bombardment. The commander grinned, sweat dripping down his face. "That is it. The plan is working." As explosions continually rocked the area, he thought, "I do not care if you are a fighter or a mage. If you are hit with all that while you are bound, you will definitely take damage." With a heavy thud, an enemy was sent flying backward. He grinned wickedly, thinking to himself, "If I'm lucky, he'll only have half his health when the boss gets here." Suddenly, the commander gasped in shock. What? He was not bound. Juhyuk leaped out from the smoke, his eyes glowing fiercely. He grabbed a knight by the helmet, announcing, "My cooldown is over." The knight stuttered in panic. "Hey, wait." Juhyuk thrust his hand forward, a brilliant light forming in his palm. Fireball. A massive explosion sent knights flying in all directions. A voice screamed from the chaos, "Stop him." Juhyuk dashed through the ranks, throwing a devastating punch. "I kept telling you." He followed up with a brutal uppercut, sending another knight soaring. "That if you left me alone." With a maniacal grin, he slammed his fist down. "I would not kill you." Panic swept through the remaining troops. "Oh my God, you said he was a mage, get back," they cried out as they scrambled away. The commander desperately tried to regain control, shouting, "Stop him. That is an order, do not run away." A heavy, armored hand clamped onto the commander's shoulder. "Good work holding out this long," a deep voice said. Young Sungdurim had finally arrived. "Now watch my back," he commanded. The younger officer, startled, asked, "Sir, where is the backup?" "I called a subcontractor," Sungdurim revealed as ranks of heavily armored troops marched in. "Getting this man is our top priority, so I opened the quest up to them. And naturally they came since it is a step-up quest," he added. The new army stood menacingly before Juhyuk. Sungdurim boasted, "He may have held his own against your troops for a bit, but we just added 200 more. He does not stand a chance, so do not worry. Besides, he is alone, and he is likely worn down by now. We will get him with no problem," Sungdurim concluded confidently. Juhyuk glanced at his health bar. "Everyone is so much weaker than Rupendel. My HP barely went down at all," he thought, "and my HP recovery is faster than their attacks. I guess Rupendel really was strong." A confident grin spread across his face as he drew his swords. "At this point, I bet I could take about 200 of these guys." The sounds of clashing steel echoed violently. Watching from a distance, Se muttered anxiously, "I hope you are still okay, Juhyuk." Suddenly, a quick message popped up from Juhyuk. "Se, attack me too," Se gasped in confusion. "Huh, why would I do that?" As Juhyuk ruthlessly pummeled the knights, he typed back, "To look like you are not on my side. Just standing over there might look suspicious." "I am gonna use lightning bolt then?" Se read, her expression turning into a deadpan stare. Juhyuk chuckled wickedly while dodging an attack. He simply messaged her back, "Whatevs." Infuriated by his nonchalance, Se raised her glowing staff. "Oh, whatever, lightning bolt," she screamed as she unleashed the spell. The system casually noted that opponents were being slaughtered. "Huh," Juhyuk muttered, effortlessly smacking away a knight's sword with his bare hand as the attack approached. He quickly realized what was coming. "Wait, Se, before you shoot, let me just check," he yelled, his eyes widening in panic. But it was too late. A massive bolt of lightning struck him dead on, lighting up the entire area. He laughed awkwardly through the pain. "Ah ha ha, is this her sisterly love? Heh. A system window appeared before Se. "You have received a special class change quest." Confused, she asked, "Huh, what is that?" Meanwhile, Juhyuk stood amidst the chaos as his killer icon darkened. "Ah, I see," he realized as the system announced his full chaos status was maintained. "I kind of expected this, but it still took me by surprise." "Your sins grow deeper," the system read, upgrading his status to natural-born killer. Juhyuk floated slightly, enveloped in an ominous aura. "Natural-born killer? I am gonna have to look that up real quick." Title window. The title description appeared, defining it as the name given to era-defining serial killers. The buffs included damage and defense boosts in PvP, along with extra experience points. Juhyuk was taken aback. "Whoa, I mean, era-defining serial killer is a bit much," he muttered, dropping back to the ground. He realized his allegiance with the Skydevil was increasing with his sins. Looking at the buffs, he smiled darkly. "Going one-on-one with a hero player will be a blast." The opposing knights were in absolute disarray. "Damn it, is he a fighter or a mage? There is no consistency," one screamed as Juhyuk effortlessly halted their attacks. Juhyuk chuckled sinisterly. "What do you mean? I have not even chosen a class yet." The knight shouted back, "That is bullshit." The younger officer stuttered in panic, "Sir," before yelling, "Mr. Young, sir, what are you doing? We are all dying out here, you bastard. You said we would get step-up points. You said it would be easy." Sungdurim gritted his teeth in frustration. There is no way he has not picked a class yet. He recalled a legend about a cherub class with a fatal weakness. He must have a hidden class and does not want us to know the name. This guy will be no different. He has a hidden class with an Achilles heel just like that. Raising his sword, Sungdurim charged. "Director Jin, we are going in." "Prepare yourself, kid. We will find your weakness and we will kill you," he roared furiously. A few moments later, Sungdurim and his men were face down in the dirt, completely defeated. Juhyuk stood over them, shrugging. "I do not really have one though, so." Stretching his arms amidst the field of unconscious knights, Juhyuk admitted, "I guess not having an area of effect attack is a weakness. I better get one when I level up more." Juhyuk then turned his attention back to Se. "Hey, Juhyuk, can you try something out with me for a sec?" she asked via message. "Sure, what is it?" he replied. "I just got a special class-changing quest," she typed, holding her staff tightly. Juhyuk was genuinely surprised. "Huh, you did." They entered the Romania dungeon. Se prepared her staff, warning him, "Okay, Juhyuk, I am gonna really hit you now." Juhyuk nodded casually. "Go ahead, I used all my buffs, so give it your best shot." "Lightning bolt," Se yelled, bringing down a massive strike upon Juhyuk. Juhyuk stood completely unbothered as the electricity coursed through him. Man, that tickles, he smiled, noting that her attack was almost as strong as Rupendel's when she had his buffs. His health bar quickly regenerated, but my recovery is still too fast for her. At this pace, I will have to get hit for a while. Determined, Se unleashed a relentless combo of spells. Repentia Shower, Luxamidian Fireball. An explosion rocked the dungeon, landing a critical hit against a player with great sins. She did not stop there. Kaishalt Arrow, Magic Missile, she shrieked, throwing everything she had at him. For a whole hour, Se bombarded him with spells, slowly lowering his HP and unlocking his hidden identity as a natural-born killer, leaving her utterly exhausted and panting heavily. Shocked by the system message, she gasped, Juhyuk, you are a natural-born killer now. Annoyed by some approaching skeletons, Juhyuk cracked his knuckles. Huh, does that have to do with your quest? I am but... Oh, gimme a sec, I will get rid of these guys. Wait right there, Se commanded, pointing her finger at him. Juhyuk agreed simply, K. The system notified Se that the natural-born killer was confused and running away, presenting a grand opportunity. She stared blankly at the floating screens. He does not look confused, she muttered, completely baffled. And I do not see this grand opportunity either. She called out, Hey Juhyuk, try to get as far away from me as you can. Juhyuk, busy punching a skeleton to dust, replied, Huh. Realizing what she needed, he waved his hand. Alrighty then, call me if you need me. Se gave him an okay sign as he sprinted off down the dungeon hall. The system declared that the natural-born killer had run away, fulfilling the conditions for the class change quest. A brilliant holy light enveloped Se. Oh, she gasped. Further down the corridor, Juhyuk received an update that the main scenario had been updated. What? He wondered aloud. Back with Se, the light intensified as the system announced. The Seventh Cleric position has been filled. She floated in her glowing new clerical attire. Completely stunned by her new holy status, she muttered in disbelief, The Seventh Cleric me. The scene shifted to the towering E&C Alliance building. A voice echoed over the speakers, Testing. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Inside the offline conference room, CEO Jung Sungdurim stood at the podium. Thank you all for coming. I am Jung Sungdurim, the CEO. He looked down grimly. I must apologize first and foremost for having to call this offline meeting, but our alliance is in a tough situation. Flanked by his stoic assistants, he continued, We failed to get correct intelligence in our recent quest to take down the full Chaos player. So many partners are turning their backs on us, sending a huge blow to our alliance, he admitted. Our response to these losses may be startling to some, but we have no choice but to downsize our staff. The audience began to mutter and complain. This is all because of that full Chaos prick, one employee grumbled. The black monsters have already upset business these days, so I can't imagine the tight position the boss is in. A sly grin crept onto the CEO's face as he thought, Things are going just how I thought they would. Feigning remorse, he bowed his head. It is with a heavy heart that I tell you we have decided to leave this quest open. I cannot say when, but I promise you all that you will receive your step-up points upon the quest's completion. Any growing defiance will die down now. A sinister red aura surrounded him as he sneered internally. A little pain when your young builds character, after all. Later, the CEO settled into his sleek gaming pod. He thought, We've lessened the hit to the Alliance by reducing staff, but the most important thing is fixing relations with our partners. As the pod connected to Olympus, he closed his eyes. I think they'll give me some benefit of the doubt since he even killed me, but a ruined reputation is never easy to reverse all at once. Recalling the faces of his colleagues, he resolved, This is a matter of life and death. Our alliance will survive once that boy is eliminated, even if the directors and I have to use the capital we stole away to do it. $1 billion should be enough. Inside the game, his avatar stood in a bustling town square clad in a white cloak. I'll use them to take out a hit on him. A heavy wooden door creaked open with a low groan. The bartender polished a cup and greeted him. Welcome, it's been a while. The CEO approached the counter with steady steps. The bartender raised a rolled parchment. How can I help? From beneath his hood, the CEO declared, I'm putting out a hit through the Assassin's League. The bartender unrolled the parchment. It may be a small target, but I have faith the Assassin's League can handle it. He narrowed his eyes sharply. And how much can you pay up front? The CEO slammed a heavy sack onto the counter with a loud thud. 1 billion gold. Surprised, the bartender crumpled his cleaning rag. Give us 3 days. The CEO grinned from ear to ear. He thought, they're one of the 2 top mercenary groups in the Airpath Empire, the Assassin's League and the Black Rose Society. I bet that full Chaos bastard didn't know about my connections with the Assassin's League. Walking past the town guards, he reasoned, as much as it hurts to spend 1 billion gold, it has to be done. Once he's dead, I'll get 700 million, so a 300 million loss is no big deal. He stepped into the dense forest, leaving the neutral zone. Then everyone can get their step-up points. That's the best path forward. The rest of the loss can be covered by cutting down on salary payout from the staff shrinkage, he plotted, his steps echoing softly. He stopped in a clearing. Now I just have to wait for 3 days. Suddenly, a sharp slash tore through the air. He hit the ground with a heavy thud, his eyes wide in disbelief as a system prompt announced his death. He wondered, what? His spirit floated above his corpse in a blue haze. Was I assassinated? I didn't even sense anything. When did they get me? A dark figure radiating a blood-red aura approached with a swift swoosh. Who is that? The CEO panicked. The masked assassin rummaged quickly through his cloak. With a sharp flick, the assassin threw a card that embedded itself into the dirt. The CEO stuttered. That card? That's the symbol of the Black Rose Society. But why would they? He trembled. The red-masked assassin glared down. This is only the beginning because you have an unlimited death warrant? The CEO stared in sheer horror. Meanwhile, deep inside the Assassin's League base, a cloaked assassin knelt before his leader. As you commanded, the mission was given to the Black Rose Society. A blade glinted sharply in the shadows. He should be dead by now then. The cloaked master stepped forward, his wicked blade catching the light. Good, I will take over the mission from here on out. The subordinate looked up in protest. But master, we are more than capable of handling. The master silenced him by firmly patting his shoulder. A terrifying red energy erupted from the master. Are you questioning me? He demanded. The subordinate broke into a cold sweat, thinking he was dead, and stammered, As you wish, master. The master twirled his blade gracefully. Just know that this is my mission now. The subordinate panted heavily in relief. Yes, master, he agreed, just glad to be alive. The master swung his blade with a sharp swish. The time has finally come. I created the Assassin's League 30 years ago in preparation for the Supreme Being's arrival. It has been a long and busy road full of danger. He aggressively sheathed his weapon with a metallic clack. But it seems the Supreme Being is still not whole. Even if that's due to the restraints on his power, it is still the case. He stepped out of the shadows, revealing himself as Yorhin, the second elder. I will be the judge of whether or not you are fit to be the Supreme Being. Somewhere else, Jin Taekyung shouted in shock. What? You're already over level 30. Luna gave him a bright thumbs up. I've been getting tons more exp since I got this new class. Still baffled, Jin asked, but how? You don't even have any step-up points. Luna casually replied, I don't need step-up points anymore. Jin stared. Are you serious? Yeah, it's a special perk for the Mage of Purity. She beamed excitedly. I guess that's why hidden classes are this coveted, and I wouldn't have gotten it without you. Jin smirked, thinking, I guess I really am the ultimate evil if I told her to hit me and she became a freakin' cleric. Let's just go hunting. He realized that if the other clerics didn't need step-up points, he might be in deep trouble. Looking at her massive holy avatar, Jin sighed inwardly. And all I wanted was to live a comfortable life. At the speed C's leveling up, it's possible that she'll hit level 99 soon. He watched her happily twirl around. Still, since she participated in the giant PvP battle in the Fields of Darkness, I've made her wear equipment that hinders recognition. That's why we're only talking through quick messages. Luna sent him a message. Oh, by the way, I might attack you here and there, okay? Jin sweated, thinking, spilling my blood to become a platinum-level hero. Luna clasped her hands, eyes sparkling. To be honest, I wanted to try killing you just one time. If I got this hidden class from just harming you, imagine the reward I'd get for killing you. Jin was left completely speechless. An ominous shadow fell over Luna's smiling face as she asked sweetly, Can I kill you just one time, big brother? Jin rubbed his neck, completely disturbed. He gave her a deadpan glare. You're sick, you know that. Luna winked with a playful thumbs up. Oh, come on, it's just a game. We can just split the rewards 80-20. Jin sighed in defeat and pointed up. If there's ever a time when I have to die, I'll let you do the honors. Luna gasped with excitement. You will. She clapped her hands together, radiating pure joy. Jin thought, I only said that because I'm just as curious as her, but why does she have to look so goddamn happy about killing her big brother? He quickly changed the subject. Whatever, let's go level up some more. He watched her skip ahead, relieved she was at least happy being a cleric. A few days later, a massive black bear collapsed to the ground with a heavy thud, defeated. Luna cheered, grabbing bags of sparkling loot as the dungeon cleared. Oh, a special item. Make sure to grab everything. Jin smiled, pulling up his interface. Status window. I must be ready to level up by now. His smile dropped as he saw his X bar sitting at 96%. Oh, I'm so close, he muttered. A couple more monsters ought to do it. He turned to Luna. I'm gonna go restock my potions. Be right back. She nodded. All right, be careful. Sell any other dropped items you find along the way, he added. Luna waved cheerfully. Okay, be back soon. As Jin walked down the dark corridor, a sinister red aura flared behind him with a sharp whoosh. Unaware, he thought, I hope soon is 10 minutes. I guess I'll just kill enough monsters to level up in the meantime. Suddenly, the terrifying title of the Supreme Being flared in his mind. A cold blade pressed against his throat with a metallic ring. Jin froze in panic, wondering how the attacker had sneaked up on him. The dark figure whispered, I am Yorhin, the second elder. It is my duty to judge your worthiness to be the supreme being. Yorhin's eyes burned with lethal intent. Should I find you not worthy, I will kill you where you stand. Engulfed in a suffocating dark energy, Yorhin promised, and the Assassin's League will hunt you endlessly. A purple system window flashed before Jin's eyes, initiating a terrifying new quest. The quest blazed with a blinding light, revealing its impossible SSS-rank. Suddenly, a blaring red system notification popped up. It read, Surprise attack of Yorhin, the second elder, is an SSS-rank quest. The system detailed the deadly threat. Yorhin, head of the Assassin's League, was the most gifted in stealth and ambush. Juhyuk had to stop the attack and gain his acceptance. Yorhin's eyes glinted with murderous intent in the dark. With a blade pressed tight against his throat, Juhyuk read the system's grim warning about severe consequences. He thought, even a side quest related to the return of the Supreme Being is SSS rank? How can both be SSS rank? I'm standing at the heart of a massive catastrophe for all I know. Juhyuk's mind raced through the terrible possibilities. Se attacked me and became a cleric. That puts the chances of me being the ultimate evil super high. If the other clerics don't need step-up points to level up, they'll become powerful real fast. In the worst-case scenario, I have to face all 7 clerics alone. Despite the cold steel at his neck, Juhyuk stared ahead impassively. Second Elder Yorhin, he addressed the assassin calmly. Yorhin glared menacingly from behind him, dark energy radiating from his body. Draw your weapon, the assassin demanded. Juhyuk casually poked the deadly blade away with a single finger. I would think you would at least know I don't have any weapons. Also, do I really need to prove myself to you right this second? Yorhin frowned in confusion and asked what he meant. Juhyuk smiled to himself, thinking, nice, if he really wanted to kill me, he wouldn't be wasting this much time. He's just another elder hoping for the Sky Devil's revival. Aloud, he said smoothly, I've been put under special limitations, as you know. I will free myself of one of them soon, though. Juhyuk turned around with a swift swish of his coat. But I am weak in my current state, and it's pathetic, he admitted. He spread his hands dramatically. This is precisely why it is taking so long to relieve myself of this curse. Yorhin listened intently as Juhyuk continued his bluff. And you elders have been waiting for my return for so long. You'll only need to wait a bit longer to see the true return of the Supreme Being. Juhyuk's tone grew sharp and authoritative. That will clearly happen, but aren't you trying to trample all over that right now, if such greatness were to be ruined by your impatience? His eyes flashed with a menacing red glow. Wouldn't you regret it? Yorhin flinched, completely taken aback by the overwhelming confidence. Juhyuk thought triumphantly. He's on my hook. Now I have to reel him in, he declared loudly. Although it may seem insufficient to all of you, the Shattering Sky Technique my master taught me will soon be under my control in 10 minutes. Yorhin's eyes widened in absolute shock. The Shattering Sky Technique, are you speaking the truth? Juhyuk gestured casually, perfectly composed. If you can bear to give me a little more time, you'll be able to see it with your own eyes. Yorhin melted into the dark, red shadows with a faint hiss. I will have to check the truth of your claims. As he vanished, Yorhin left a chilling warning. I will stay in hiding nearby. You have 10 minutes. The system confirmed the 10-minute timer. Juhyuk let out a massive sigh of relief, dropping his tough act. Phew, I bought myself some time. A confident smirk returned to his face. I almost have enough exp. I just have to hunt a few more monsters, he thought smugly. 10 minutes is plenty. Monsters never stop coming at me with negative 99 luck. The system confirmed he was leaving the dungeon. Juhyuk sprinted into a sunlit forest, thinking brightly. I bet I could do it in 1 minute, haha, or so I thought. He came to an abrupt halt, his face twisting in confusion. What gives? Juhyuk frantically rushed through the empty woods. There aren't any monsters out here. He stood dumbfounded as a massive bear and wolf completely ignored him. Usually, I'd run into at least a bear or a skeleton by now. Where are they now that I need them? Panic set in as he dashed madly through the trees. Shit, I took it all for granted, this goddamn trash luck, he screamed. A system warning flashed, notifying him he had 30 seconds remaining. Juhyuk recoiled in sheer terror, shouting already. He imagined Yorhin effortlessly stabbing him in the back. I'm screwed. Maybe I should just try fighting him. Nah, he can stab me in the back without me even noticing. I don't stand a chance. The system ticked down to 20 seconds. He scrambled frantically. What the hell can I do to give myself more time? I don't see that guy giving me any more time, though. Suddenly, a cheerful voice rang out. Ah, there you are, Juhyuk. I've been looking for you. Juhyuk turned, horrified. Hey, it's dangerous here. Don't come any. A massive rumbling shook the ground. Se was sprinting for her life from a huge stampede of giant bears. She cried out in panic. What do you mean? All of these monsters are after me, so I can't stop running. Juhyuk stared blankly, his mind completely freezing for a second as he processed the chaotic sight. Then total elation overtook him. That's it, little sis. Bring them on over, he cheered. With a crazed, joyful grin, Juhyuk leaped into action. Nice. Se was completely baffled as he zoomed past her. What are you talking about? You just said not to come? Juhyuk dashed toward the deadly stampede with blinding speed. He smashed into the giant bears with incredible force. It's hard to explain, just get back, he yelled to Se. I'll make it up to you later. System notifications chimed wildly as he slaughtered the beasts. With a heavy thud, the last bear fell. A brilliant blue light enveloped him as the system announced he had gathered enough exp and leveled up. The timer hit 3 seconds. I'm level 40 now, I just need the skill. He furiously navigated his glowing interface. 2 seconds remaining. Yorhin suddenly materialized right behind him, his dark blade drawn. Hurry up, Juhyuk screamed in his mind as the timer hit 1 second. Just in time, a massive pillar of golden light erupted from Juhyuk. The system announced the Shattering Sky Technique was activated. The explosive blast knocked Yorhin back. A glowing fiery emblem appeared on Juhyuk's chest. That was close, he mutters. The system declared his Skydevil dominance had grown, making him superior to all under his control. Juhyuk thought, yeah, Yorhin can't say anything to that. Suddenly, another system prompt appeared, noting that his natural-born killer status was identified. Requirements were met. Juhyuk blinked in confusion, saying, what? The ground violently crumbled as an overwhelming, sinister aura exploded from his body. The system announced that the ultimate evil had been reborn. Yorhin shielded himself from the intense dark energy, completely awestruck. You are. Juhyuk read his new title with a nervous, crooked smile. I guessed as much, but what a feeling to actually have it happen. I'm the ultimate evil. He reviewed the incredible new effects. Should I be thankful Se's on my side? So is it 2 versus 6 now? Let's see what effects the new title has. Wait, Shattering Sky Technique got stronger. He read the details in disbelief. All stats, attack speed, and recoveries were boosted significantly, by 20%. Looking at his massive stat increases, Juhyuk was thrilled. Just getting the Shattering Sky Technique did all this? Oh yeah, if the clerics can level up like it's nothing, then I should get at least this. Yorhin dropped to his knees behind him with a respectful thud. Greetings, master, the assassin called out. Yorhin bowed his head deeply in submission. For failing to see you and daring to doubt you, I beg your forgiveness. Juhyuk turned to him with a benevolent smile, completely playing the part. It's all right, Yorhin. I would have acted no different in your shoes. Yorhin was deeply moved. Master. Juhyuk added smoothly, and I am happy now that you have chosen to recognize me as your master. Internally, a giant demonic version of him cheered. The Assassin's League is mine. Yorhin formally pledged his allegiance. I, Yorhin of the Assassin's League, swear my loyalty to you. The system confirmed the SSS-rank quest was complete. Juhyuk thought in satisfaction, perfect. There's just one elder left. Se ran up to him, catching her breath. Juhyuk asked playfully, did you get away all right back there, Se? She waved her hands frantically. Forget that, did you see the notice that just popped up? It's crazy, and I'm not just saying that. The ultimate evil is here. The forums are blowing up right now. She continued with naive enthusiasm. The sooner we find out who the ultimate evil is, the easier the quest will be. Don't you see, Juhyuk? If you and I kill him, your full chaos status will go away. Juhyuk scratched the back of his neck awkwardly. Yeah, about that. Oh, by the way, I pushed my stats over 100 thanks to you. Se was utterly amazed. Wow, that's amazing. No one has officially done that before. How high are they now? Juhyuk replied nonchalantly. They're at 99 with plus 19 for each. Se looked flabbergasted. Plus 19 for each. I'm lucky if I get plus 1 or 2, but 19? How did you manage to do that? Juhyuk clenched his glowing fist with a smug grin. I just did a bit of this and that. Se started trembling, her face pale and sweaty from the shock. Well, I guess I owe you a congrats if you got all your stats over 100 by getting plus 19s. Sorry, Juhyuk. I don't know if it's the excitement or what, but my heart is racing. I gotta step out for a bit. In the real world, the VR pod word open. The system announced Olympus was shutting down. The real Se sat up, her eyes completely vacant. Still in a daze, she muttered to herself, I don't know what you did, but you did something unbelievable, and it's not fair, whatever. I have to get ready for something. Back in the game, the system noted that player Luna was offline. Juhyuk scratched his cheek sheepishly. Did I shock her that much? I can't imagine how hard it'll be to tell her what really happened. He turned his attention back to his loyal subordinate. Well, for now, let's get my reward for finishing an SSS-rank quest. You were saying, Yorhin. Juhyuk's inner thoughts were filled with greedy delight. My reward must be the control of the Assassin's League, right? It'll make facing the clerics easier and make me plenty of money, too. Yorhin, still kneeling respectfully, looked up. Yes, master, there is something urgent I must tell you. Juhyuk nodded, eager for the good news. Go on. Is there more to explain? Yorhin's eyes narrowed sharply. I must inform you of the current state of the Assassin's League, and it's... He stopped as the sound of horse hooves clopped nearby. It appears we have an uninvited guest. Juhyuk whirled around furiously, completely frustrated. Just at a crucial moment, as he yelled, Yorhin immediately vanished into thin air. A man riding a majestic white horse led a group of armored soldiers into the clearing. There's Ramtadian, the man shouted. The knight rallied his troops, pointing forward. Whoever brings me his head will receive a great reward. Juhyuk crossed his arms, looking completely deadpan and utterly annoyed. "Tusk, this again?" he sighed. "How long are these people gonna think I'm Ramtadian? Aren't they tired of this too?" A loud shout broke the tension. "He's all alone." A knight raised his shining sword high into the air, rallying his comrades. "We can take him." With a swift slash of his blade, the knight commander charged forward on horseback, leading his heavily armored men. "Order of Baelon," he roared. The booming battle cry echoed across the field. "Charge!" The armored soldiers rushed forward in a massive wave. He stood his ground calmly, analyzing the situation. "I have a general idea of NPC stats now that my Shattering Sky Technique is activated," he mused. "This will be like shooting fish in a barrel." Looking completely unimpressed by the overwhelming odds, he let out a weary sigh. Surrounded by darkness, he muttered confidently, "Fine, bring it on. Just assume I am Ramtadian." Walking casually past the defeated soldiers who were dissolving into glowing dust, he remarked drily, "I have never fought knights before. Is your order the weakest one or something? I am a bit disappointed." The commander staggered backward, stammering in shock. "How did you?" Sweating and furious, the commander swung his massive blade down, yelling angrily, "You little." With blinding speed, he dashed forward, leaving a red trail behind him. The commander continued his threat. "You may have bested my knights alone, but you will not leave here unscathed." Before the commander could finish, a thunderous impact echoed as he lunged forward, striking with explosive force. He paused, looking mildly surprised. "Ooh, nice," he observed. "He blocked my punch. That must be one hell of a sword." Trembling violently under the sheer pressure, the commander gritted his teeth. He thought in disbelief, "How is he so strong?" Aloud, he gloated defensively. "HMPH, I see you are quite fatigued already." "Not really," he replied cheerfully. Leaping high into the air and bringing his glowing sword down for a devastating strike he mentally dubbed Nuclear Facepalm. System notification chimed, revealing he had murdered Viscount Baelon and earned ultimate evil points. Dusting off his hands, he clapped them together as the commander dissolved into light. "It is so nice to have the Shattering Sky Technique," he mused with a smile. "I felt like I put in barely any effort at all." "Well, with that out of the way, let us get to my reward," he declared joyfully. "Yorhin, continue with what you were." He was abruptly cut off by a deep, resonant voice. Now that was impressive. He gasped sharply, his eyes widening in sudden shock. Thoroughly annoyed by the constant interruptions, he yelled into the trees, "Who is it now? Come out here." The soft sound of footsteps slowly echoed from the shadowy woods. A figure cloaked entirely in black stepped out. He asked cautiously, "Let me guess, you are here to kill me? Are you a bounty hunter?" The figure replied calmly, "Something like that." Purple energy flared in the cloaked figure's hand. "I am no hunter," he proclaimed darkly with a sinister smile, "but I will kill you and make you my slave." The dark magic swirled as the figure summoned a battered captive bound by shadowy chains. "Just like I did to this one," the necromancer added. He stared at the captive, his expression shifting to confusion. "Huh, aren't you?" The captive raised his head, sporting a maniacal grin, and greeted, "Hello again." "You lunatic," he muttered, recognizing the crazed, blue-haired man staring back at him with intense, wild eyes. Pointing an accusing finger, he recalled, "Oh yeah, you're, what was it? Lupin, like that werewolf professor." The captive recoiled, veins popping on his forehead as he screamed back, "The name's Rupendel, asshole." Rupendel cackled loudly, waving his chained hands. "But it does not matter now because I guarantee you're finished now." Suddenly shifting his demeanor entirely, Rupendel bowed submissively, sparkling with mock innocence. "Isn't that right, master?" The cloaked man nodded. "Ah, yes, he will be my slave." The necromancer stretched out his hand, eerie purple magic seeping from his fingers. "And thank you for helping me find these excellent corpses," he sneered. "I promise to treat you like a very good slave, okay?" Dark energy swirled violently around the fallen knights. "Arise," commanded the necromancer, "knights of the dead." The deceased commander coughed out a wet gasp as his lifeless eyes snapped open, glowing with sinister magic. The undead commander stumbled forward like a broken puppet, muttering, "Ramtadian, must kill him." He watched the horde reanimate and deduced calmly, "So you're a necromancer." He narrowed his eyes, analyzing the undead. "Most undead don't remember their life or have self-awareness like these ones," he thought. "This guy definitely got a hidden class." The undead commander wobbled over to him, groaning, "My spirit is bound to you, master. I, Baelon, pledge my body and soul to you." He stared blankly, uttering a soft aha, while thinking, "There is definitely something off about him." The undead commander suddenly whipped around, his face twisted in rage. He pointed his sword fiercely at the necromancer and shouted, "And you, Ramtadian, the power of darkness is coming for you. You will be powerless to stop it. Now you must die," the commander choked out, suddenly freezing mid-sentence as an invisible force seized him. The commander stammered helplessly, "Kill you." His armor creaked loudly as he struggled to move. He watched in disbelief, asking, "Are they broken or what?" A system message flashed. "Conditions met to manifest ultimate evil effects. Veiled effects now revealed." His eyes widened in sudden realization. The system notified him that all under dark magic fell under his influence. The undead knights writhed on the ground, overwhelmed as the Shattering Sky Technique's energy successfully resisted the necromancy. Panic fully set in for the necromancer. Sweating profusely, he shouted in desperation, "What happened? Why won't they listen to me? Heed my command, I am your master." A sly, villainous smile crept across his face. "I cannot believe I stole his corpses," he mused, scratching his cheek. "I am turning into quite the bad guy." He then looked down at his newly acquired undead army. "So you all follow me now?" The skeletal knights nodded obediently in unison. "Okay then," he sighed, turning his back to them. "Well, that is a pain. How about you all just die again?" The undead instantly collapsed into piles of dust with soft thuds. Rupendel gasped in horror, stuttering, "What the hell? It feels like I am being pulled to follow his commands." The necromancer cried out, "Hey, don't say that. Don't surrender without a fight." Turning his attention to the blue-haired captive, he asked smoothly, "Hey, Rupendel, you are undead too, right?" The necromancer flinched, and Rupendel stuttered fearfully, "No, Well, you sure look like it," he taunted with a menacing smirk. "Are you gonna follow me now? Give me 10 jumping jacks." Rupendel grimaced, protesting angrily. Who the hell would do? Before he could resist, blinding energy crackled around Rupendel, and he screamed in sudden agony. Compelled by the sheer force of the magic, Rupendel began jumping up and down furiously, cursing, "1, 2, 3, 4. The necromancer watched his former slave in sheer terror, stuttering helplessly. "What do I do?" Looming over the trembling necromancer, he asked coldly, Hey you, how old are you?" Recoiling defensively, the necromancer stuttered frantically, "I am 19. Wait, I don't have to tell you that. I do not have an age. I am sorry." "Really?" he sighed, pointing to himself. "I took all your undead from you, so what are you gonna do now? And for your information, I only kill those who attack me first, but you haven't hit me yet." Trembling with fear and sweating nervously, the necromancer stuttered, "Then, can I go? I promise to just go." With a dismissive wave of his hand, he replied casually, "Sure, get out of here." The cloaked figure bowed rapidly, blurting, "Thank you for sparing me," before zooming off into the distance like a rocket, leaving Rupendel utterly bewildered. Silence fell over the forest. Rupendel slowly turned his head to look at his new, terrifying master, sweat beading heavily on his face. "So, he mumbled. Rupendel nervously clapped his hands together, forcing a bright, subservient smile. "You know I was just messing with you all this time, don't cha, buddy?" He raised a skeptical eyebrow. "Messing?" Rupendel continued his desperate charade. "Of course, I was just acting so I could get away from that evil necromancer. Come on, best buddy. I'll do whatever you want me to do now. I'll be your shoe rag." He smiled faintly and stated the grim reality. "You know, if you betray me, you'll probably die on the spot, right?" "Well, that's a given. I, Rupendel, promise to never betray you even in death. I am yours eternally," the captive cheered subserviently. Breathing a sigh of relief, he thought to himself, "Excellent. Now I don't need to nurse another player." In the real world, a girl lay in her sleek VR pod as the system announced Olympus was shutting down. The pod opened with a soft hiss, and she murmured, "Whoa, that guy earlier had some serious charisma." She stretched her legs on her chair, deep in thought. "I am really glad he let me live. I hate dying. But who is he, and how is he stronger than me at controlling undead?" She recalled the ominous words of her mysterious master. "The time will come when you meet the one true ruler of this world. You must aid this person to defeat his adversaries and seize these lands." She wondered silently, could he be the one true ruler? Groaning in frustration, she sat before her vanity mirror. I'm so dumb. I should have stayed with him. He would have at least given me a clue, I am sure of it." The sudden ringing of her phone broke her train of thought. "Oh," she gasped. Glancing at the bright screen, she realized it was already past 2 in the morning. "It's already this late," she panicked. "I totally forgot I had to be somewhere. I'm gonna be late." Back in the game world, an assassin knelt respectfully before him. "There is still more to report, Master. I shall continue." Looking incredibly exasperated, he urged, "Yes, Yorhan, get on with it before someone else interrupts again." He narrated inwardly. He told me some very intimate details about the Assassin's League. There are currently only 2 S-rank assassins who could kill the Empire's top knights, including 20 A-rank assassins, 100 B-rank assassins, and too many C-rank to count. And there are still countless people dying from fighting to get into the Assassin's League at this very moment. The inner monologue continued as he pictured a grand estate. The League also has connections with nobility, but not with barons or other low-level nobles. Only top nobles enjoy the various privileges of the League. He visualized a literal mountain of gold. After 30 years of doing business, the League has 2 billion in capital, and Yorhan has 4 billion in personal savings. That's 6 billion gold. Staring down at the fiercely loyal assassin, he realized the incredible magnitude of the situation. He's dedicating all of this to the Supreme Being, he thought in pure awe. A barrage of system notifications appeared, confirming quest completion and granting him the Assassin's League and 6 billion gold. His eyes widened, and a massive, greedy grin spread across his face as he thought, "There it is, 6 billion gold." Desperately trying to suppress his giddiness, he turned away, covering his mouth to hide his laugh. Easy now. I have to keep a straight face, he told himself, though Yorhan looked slightly puzzled. Composing himself, he turned back, standing tall in the dramatic sunlight. I am well aware of your fealty, Yorhan, he boomed with practiced authority. I want you to use the 2 billion and keep the league running. I also want you to keep full control over the league just as it is. No one is more qualified, he stated confidently. In his mind, he rationalized, I am still new to all this, so I need someone to hold the league together if anything happens. Tears of devotion welled up in Yorhan's eyes. Master, he whispered, his voice trembling, all the funds will be used to aid in the resurrection of the Sky Devil. As his new master turned to walk away, Yorhan bowed deeply to the ground and shouted with utter conviction, Master, I, Yorhan Shin, will follow you wherever you go. Safely out of sight, he pumped his fists in the air, cheering internally. Ha ha ha. Oh yeah, with the Assassin's League at my fingertips, all my quests and the rest of my life are set, baby. Yorhan suddenly spoke up, his tone growing serious and cautious. It has to do with Lexer, the third elder. He is not an elder you can trust, master. Under the light of the full moon, a tall tower cast long shadows. Yorhan explained, I gave you a warning when I attacked, but Lexer will not. He is silent as the dead of night, Yorhan described. And a more lethal killer than even me, Yorhan concluded grimly. Is he an assassin? He asked, his expression turning serious. Yorhan replied, yes, he is. Yorhan lowered his gaze respectfully. He is the head of the Black Rose Society. The Black Rose Society, he repeated, looking thoroughly confused. A system chime suddenly interrupted them. Raising a glowing blue menu screen, he said, Wait just 1 second, Yorhan. Yorhan nodded. Yes, master. Reading the incoming messages, he muttered, That's some weird timing. The system displayed that the first and second cleric's positions had been filled. He thought, I got 2 clerics at once. A confident smirk crossed his face. Fine, bring it on, whoever you are, he declared. I have the Assassin's League and the 7th Cleric is my sister. A message window popped up, rapidly repeating his name in a panic. He tilted his head, wondering, You got back fast. Is something the matter? Is it the other 2 clerics? Suddenly, a frantic blonde girl burst onto his screen. Nuo, she screamed, lightning bolts of panic radiating around her. This is really important. I just met a close friend. Meanwhile, in the real world, a blonde girl sat in a bright cafe, tapping her phone lightly against her fingers. The cafe door chimed. She looked up brightly, her face lighting up with a smile as she called out, Oh, Cesson, over here. A tall, elegant woman with long, dark hair walked in, smiling warmly. Hey, when did you get here? She greeted cheerfully. I hope you weren't waiting long. In a brightly lit cafe, 2 young women sat together, enjoying a peaceful afternoon chat. Suddenly, a man reached his phone out toward the dark-haired woman. He said, Excuse me. With a smooth smile, the man continued, You happen to be exactly my type, so could I get your number? The woman stared at him in complete silence. With a cold, unimpressed glare, she replied smoothly, I am sorry, I am not interested. The man awkwardly scratched the back of his head, backing away. The blonde woman, watched the rejection and thought, How can someone he literally just saw for the first time be his type? The dark-haired woman muttered under her breath, I hate when people judge me on my looks. Rested her chin on her hand, a teasing smirk on her face. People just fall for you at first sight, Cesson. But be honest, you still have a fear of guys, do not you? Cesson flinched and shouted her friend's name in a panic. Blushing furiously, 19-year-old Chun Cesson stammered that it was not true, adding, I am not afraid of anything. Come on, She trailed off, struggling to find an excuse. C pointed out calmly, You are stuttering again. People used to call you Ice Princess back at the academy, but now I think it is just that you are clumsy. Cesson could only groan in defeat. With tears pricking her eyes, Cesson pouted, You are mean, C. C laughed cheerfully, I am just teasing. How have you been these days anyway? Cesson hesitated softly. Looking down, Cesson confessed, I have not told anyone else this, but actually lately. After pouring her heart out, Cesson beamed brightly. Oh, I knew it was a good idea to tell you. Thanks so much for listening, C. Later, out on the bustling street, C waved to her friend. Get home safe. Cesson waved back with a bright smile. Yeah, you too. Still waving, C called out, Text me when you get home. But as soon as Cesson was out of earshot, C dropped her smile and muttered, Oh man. Panic set in as C realized the gravity of the secret. I was not expecting to hear that, she thought. What should I do? I gotta do something and fast. Remembering Cesson begging her to keep it a secret, C made a rapid decision. I have to tell Juhyuk first. Back at the apartment, C grabbed a glass as water poured into it. What I am about to tell you is super important. That is why I ran straight home to send you that quick message. Juhyuk handed her the glass of water calmly. So I am guessing it is something you do not want anyone else to hear. Here, drink some water. C panted heavily. Exactly. I cannot breathe. Still wheezing, C explained. No one else is aware of this information yet, and I never expected to hear anything about the ultimate evil from Cesson. As Juhyuk listened, C laid out the lore. So to sum up, it was assumed that the ultimate evil had to face the 7 clerics alone, but there is a hidden class that can help the ultimate evil. See, drop the bombshell. And it turns out that the person you have been best friends with is the one with that hidden class. She is the absolute necromancer, you said. See gulped down the water greedily and confirmed, "Yep." Juhyuk stared at her deadpan. "I get that it is really important info, see." He continued, "But is it all right for her to tell you when you are a cleric? And are you sure it is okay that I know too?" C looked utterly confused. "Huh, Cesson is my best friend, of course she told me." C pointed directly at him. "And you are the ultimate evil, so you have to know." Juhyuk stiffened, feigning ignorance with a sharp gasp. "Huh." Sweating nervously, Juhyuk waved his hands. I have no idea what you're talking about." C just let out an exhausted sigh. Closing her eyes, she admitted, "I was just gonna pretend I did not know until you were ready to tell me." She listed his incredibly obvious traits, each point landing like a physical blow. "Juhyuk, after training for 20 years in a strange place, you suddenly appear, and black monsters appear wherever you go. Plus, you are impossibly strong for your level, not to mention you are full chaos. And finally, you got a huge stat boost when the game announced the ultimate evil was reborn." Striking a confident pose, she finished, "I even became a cleric after attacking you. I would have to be stupid not to know." She added firmly, "I get that you would want to keep it secret, but I am still a little hurt that you did not tell me." Juhyuk closed his eyes, conceding, "I do not have a comeback for that." Suddenly striking a dramatic pose with a sparkling aura, Juhyuk laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha, you figured it all out, little sis. I knew you would eventually." C sighed. "You know you are kind of an idiot, right?" C set her glass down with a sharp clack. "Obviously, I did not tell Cesson you are the ultimate evil, and I did not tell her that I am a cleric yet either." Crossing her arms, she warned him, "I should not have to say this, but you do know if any of this gets out and we get doxxed, we are finished, right? The entire world will be gunning for us, especially since I am a cleric who is helping you. Things could get really bad. I am already stuck in this with you." Juhyuk scratched the back of his head nervously and laughed. "Hee hee, yeah." Placing a finger on his chin, he pondered, "Let me set up a meeting. You will have to meet Cesson eventually, anyway." Internally, he thought, "I guess this means I never had to fight the clerics all by myself in the first place." A dramatic realization hit him. What kind of big picture is this zoo system trying to make? The next day in the lush Rifnia Mountains, C briefed him. "Cesson is only 19 right now. She learned necromancy when she dropped out of the academy, and she said she was level 14. Juhyuk examined a dark wolf mask. "The ultimate evil has to hide from the empire and guilds, and it will be good to wear this from now on." Slipping the mask on, Juhyuk stepped forward into the shadows. "Decreasing the chance for aggro is just as important as not getting doxxed. But I cannot believe she is a necromancer at 19. Is she the one I scared off?" A wicked grin spread across Juhyuk's face. "Nah, she is level 14. There is no way she could control Rupendel when he was level 50, even if she does have a hidden class." C gestured proudly, presenting a woman in dark robes and a horned mask. "There you are." The robed woman pointed a trembling finger. "Huh, he is." Juhyuk stared back, utterly baffled. "Huh." They both yelled in unison. Juhyuk shouted, "It was you. The absolute thingy." Cesson screamed back, "You are that old guy. How do you know C?" C stood between them, completely lost. Fake tears streaming from his mask, Juhyuk complained, "How could you call the man who spared your life old?" Cesson fidgeted. "Then what should I call you?" Juhyuk sighed. "Never mind. Call me what you want. It is not like you can call me master." Juhyuk pointed out suspiciously, "But you were a girl. You definitely did not sound like one." Cesson flinched and stammered nervously that it was because she thought something else. Covering her masked face in embarrassment, she confessed, "I thought necromancers had to sound like that. It was not my real voice." Juhyuk flatly replied, "Oh, okay." C looked back and forth between them. "What is going on? Do you know each other? I feel left out." Juhyuk waved his hands. "No way. We only met once. We were not hiding anything from you." Cesson clapped her hands together, a bubbly aura surrounding her. "This is unreal. Is this what they call fate? C told me you are a VIP who is connected to the ultimate evil too." The atmosphere turned awkward. Cesson tilted her head and asked, "But you would not happen to actually be the ultimate evil, would you? And how do you two know each other?" Juhyuk hesitated with a dumbfounded groan. Juhyuk pointed a thumb at his chest. "I am the ultimate evil," C smiled brightly beside him, "and I am the old man's little sister." C casually added, "Oh, and I am also the 7th Cleric. Sorry I did not tell you." Cesson froze in place. Cesson stared in blank disbelief, managing a weak murmur. Then she unleashed a deafening scream that sent birds fluttering from the trees. Grabbing C by the shoulders, Cesson shook her back and forth violently. "C, how could you keep that a secret from me? Why did you wait till now to tell me something so important?" Wobbling dizzily, C apologized. "I had to respect my brother's privacy. Sorry for telling you so late, and I am really sorry for not telling you that I am a cleric." Cesson groaned, stomping her feet in frustration. I cannot believe it. The big brother of my best friend and I tried to kill each other, and I look like a mess today. I should have dressed nicer, Juhyuk asked blankly. Why do you need to dress up to meet my brother? Flustered, Cesson rushed to explain. I do not usually look this terrible, I promise. I know how to use makeup and wear nice things. I also do not say things like be my slave regularly. Juhyuk awkwardly nodded. Okay. Juhyuk smirked behind his mask, thinking, she told me she was really pretty and friendly, but she is so young. Ice princess, my butt. Dropping the jokes, Juhyuk grew serious. That is not what we are here to discuss. You said you had to aid the ultimate evil and you got a quest about it, right? Cesson gasped, remembering her purpose. Oh yes, I did. She pulled out an old, tied parchment. Take a look at this. My master left it for me. Juhyuk took the parchment, unfurling it with a snap. A map, Cesson nodded. Yes, it is a map. Juhyuk studied the worn paper closely. Your master left you this. Suddenly, his eyes widened in absolute shock. Staring at the glowing red mark on the map, Juhyuk gasped, but this is... In the dim light of a flickering candle, a raspy voice echoed, Arthur, my little grasshopper. Come to me, the old man demanded. Juhyuk, currently doing a one-fingered handstand while trembling with effort, asked in confusion, but I'm still training. This is important, the old man insisted. Sweat dripped down Juhyuk's face as he stared in silence. Wearing his signature cat mask, he examined a piece of parchment and murmured, it looks just like. Tracing a torn map with an X marked on it, he exclaimed, these locations and markings on this map are the same as the one I got from my master. This is clearly related to the ultimate evil. The quest related to the Shattering Sky Technique was also a big clue. He pointed out a fiery skull icon in the darkness. The most definite thing is the symbol in the corner. It's the Shattering Sky icon. The old man pointed at the glowing dark flame on the cavern wall. This is the form that represents you, a black flame. Heh. This is your calling card. You will spread this flame across these lands as ruler. Juhyuk shivered violently as the realization hit him. He thought, it can't be a coincidence that his symbol is here too. Glanced sideways at Cesson, noting her demonic mask. He thought, so there really was a player who got an SSS-ranked quest to aid the ultimate evil. Is she upset about something? Well, I guess there's no way the Zeus system would put me up against 7 clerics all by my lonesome. He continued his internal monologue. She's even the right class to help me, and her powers don't even work against me. She's the ultimate evil stooge. Remembering his master's laugh, Cesson stammered nervously that she didn't think stooge was appropriate. He unrolled a scroll with a swift motion. I get the gist. This really does have to do with the ultimate evil's power. Let's get moving. Surprised, Cesson asked, where are we going? Pointing confidently, he replied with C smiling behind him. C tells me you're only level 14. You'll have to level up first. A few days later, a brilliant bolt of lightning crashed into the forest with a booming explosion. A massive black bear roared in terror, eyes wide from the electrical shock. The giant bear fell backward with a heavy thud. C raised her glowing staff triumphantly and cheered. Woohoo! Cesson clapped and added, wow, that was so cool, C. A bright flash surrounded Rupendel as a system prompt appeared. He thought excitedly, it's been forever since I leveled up. Juhyuk turned his head sharply and demanded, what are you waiting for, Petpo? Rupendel flinched and stuttered loudly, yes, sir. Rushing forward barefoot through the forest, Rupendel enthusiastically shouted, I'll get it for you. The system marked him as Juhyuk's level 58 item retriever. Zooming back like a loyal pup, Rupendel held out a glowing blue stone. It dropped a blue stone, I'll grab it, he beamed. Juhyuk replied calmly, thanks, now go take a break. Falling to his knees in pure despair, Rupendel sobbed to himself, stuttering, what has become of the great Rupendel? I'm nothing but a dog playing fetch now. He watched Cesson and Se chat with Juhyuk. But still, this lunatic is as smooth as his skills, he thought. Heals, buffs, leveling up, and rewards are all guaranteed when you're with him. Dropping to the ground, Rupendel panicked. Wait, am I convincing myself to be happy with this situation? Wake up, Rupendel, Juhyuk asked. What level are you now? Cesson answered, level 19. Good, let's keep hunting, Juhyuk declared. Stepping forward, Juhyuk murmured her name, Chun Cesson. Se asked curiously, have you just been hunting alone all this time? Cesson nervously fiddled with her fingers. Yeah, I don't have great skill control yet, so. Juhyuk observed her. On the surface, she looks a bit sloppy in life and in battle, he noted. Cesson confidently puffed out her chest. I get the undead to do the fighting for me. Watch. With an ominous purple aura, an army of skeletons rose behind her with a rattling sound. Ta-da, she presented. Se gasped, eek. Cesson hugged a skeleton's head affectionately. Aren't they cute? She cooed. Se nervously thought, do all necromancers think the undead are cute? Juhyuk observed. The undead she summons are way stronger than typical ones. The skeletons clattered their weapons together eagerly as Cesson waved. Have fun, guys, Juhyuk thought. Not to mention the number of undead she can summon, and her total MP is incomparable to other necromancers. The skeleton army swarmed a giant bear. I'm in a position where I need to watch myself or else the Empire will notice me, Juhyuk thought. I'm no longer free to use the Elders for help, and I can't get the help of another player. The massive bear growled, charging straight ahead. A skeleton leapt valiantly toward the beast. So an army of undead is a great card to have right now. I couldn't ask for a better ally than Cesson, Juhyuk realized. Weapons clashed with a loud clang as the skeletons stabbed at their foes. Cesson cheered wildly, "Good job," while Se pumped her fist, "Keep it up." Smirking, Juhyuk thought, "We also have the same quest to explore the same ruins. She'll level up again soon. She has to learn the Shattering Sky Technique as well, but unlike me learning it at level 40, she can learn it at level 20, which is good news for us." Juhyuk's face darkened as he pictured his manic master. Of course it was that master bastard that left me that quest, so it'll be soul-crushingly hard. I might run into a snag or 10 if I try to complete it alone. A confident smile returned to his face. I'm really lucky Cesson is my little sister's friend now that I think about it. My real-life luck must be way higher than my game luck. Suddenly, Cesson lunged forward with a quick dash, slamming into him and shouting, "Hey, I leveled up." Cesson hugged him tightly. "I'm already at level 20, she cheered. Se smiled warmly, thinking she had never seen Cesson like this. Cesson added, "I got there this fast with your help, thank you so much." Juhyuk, heavily annoyed, stammered, "It was nothing, now let go. I could have killed you if I hit you out of surprise, you know." He unleashed a burst of dark energy, darting forward and sending Rupendel fleeing into the distance. "And what did you say, pet?" Juhyuk asked menacingly. Rupendel screamed back, "I said I'll go pick up more items, sir." Now composed, Juhyuk raised a finger. "Now that you're at level 20, we can start on that quest. We're going to the Kaganus Mountains on the Lunia continent." He turned to Se and Cesson. "The two of you can take an Imperial warp since no one will be looking for you. Try to gather some info while you wait for me." Both girls nodded in agreement. Gesturing to Rupendel, who was sweating nervously, Juhyuk added, "Since Rupendel here is a full Chaos player, we'll take a guild warp and find you." The girls waved as they faded into the forest. "See you later," Se called out. "Be safe," Juhyuk replied. Watching them leave, Rupendel asked doubtfully, "Will this be okay? We're both targeted as full Chaos." Juhyuk sighed, "No, probably not, but we have no better option. Let's move." Visualizing a map with dragons and ships, Juhyuk narrated, "A ship or plane wouldn't cost too much, but both would take too long. And longer traveling time means more chances for the unexpected to bite us in the butt. So even though it's pricey, a warp is our best option." Arriving at a massive, bustling crowd before a shining portal, Juhyuk observed, "The warps managed by the Empire are fairly cheap, but there aren't very many, so the travel options are few, and not even regular Chaos players can use their warps." Approaching a grand, blue-glowing gate, he continued, "Most of the remaining warps are managed by guilds, and that means they have a monopoly on warps." A woman with a sleek ponytail suddenly perked up with a curious hum. She entered a dimly lit room where a man lounged in a chair. "Sir, I think you should see this." The man, face covered by a book, replied lazily, "Just tell me." "A full Chaos player is approaching," she stated. The man lifted the book, revealing an intrigued eye. "Full Chaos." Through the window, they watched Juhyuk and Rupendel approach. "You weren't joking, and it's two of them," the man smirked. "I'll handle this, you go inside," she nodded obediently. The man leaned casually against the stone wall next to the glowing portal. "Hee, what unexpected visitors," he chuckled, introduced as Ibe, the Island Guild Warp Portal manager. Juhyuk warned Rupendel, "But we can't start trouble now. We're fine. Fighting is restricted here, so just follow my lead." Ibe stepped forward with a slick smile. "This warp portal leads to the northern Kaganus Mountains on the Lunia continent, but I assume you have enough gold." Looking closely, Ibe grinned. "So you're both full Chaos players. Actually, by the looks of that blue hair, you must be Rupendel." Rupendel swallowed hard, a drop of sweat rolling down his face. "Are you traveling with a minion now?" Ibe mocked. Flashing a desperate thumbs up, Rupendel faked a confident grin. I came prepared with an item retriever." A flashback showed Juhyuk whispering, "I want you to pretend you're me. Your level is higher anyway." Rupendel had stammered his agreement reluctantly, thinking, "I'm just doing what he told me, so I better not get in trouble for it later." Ibe sneered, leaning closer. "An item retriever? I thought you'd at least find someone at your level for that." Sweating profusely, Rupendel panicked as Ibe added, "He looks like a total noob compared to you, haha." Rupendel stammered internally in shock. "What, a noob?" Pointing defensively, Rupendel yelled, "Who asked you? Whether I use noobs or slackers is my business." Unfazed, Ibe extended his hand open. "Anyway, you do know that I can't charge two full Chaos players the same as everyone else, right? For the likes of you, I'd say 30 million gold each should do," Ibe demanded. Rupendel's eyes nearly popped out of his skull in shock. "Did you say 30 million? Who even has that much gold?" Ibe chuckled smugly, adjusting his collar. "You're free to leave if you don't like it. Take the more affordable Imperial portal." Fists clenched in frustration, Rupendel groaned while Ibe taunted. "Oh right, you're full Chaos so you can't use it. That's a pity. What to do?" Leaning down maliciously, Ibe whispered, "Hee hee, you know you have no other choice, Rupendel." Rupendel fumed internally. "Does that even make sense? How could you talk about 30 million gold like it's a bus fare?" Thinking to himself, Ibe glanced slyly at Juhyuk. "I wonder if I can use that noob. Maybe then I can make this worth my while." Rupendel continued shouting, "Is this all you guilds know how to do?" A system notification pinged for Juhyuk. "Quick message from Ibe. Hey, noob." Juhyuk stared blankly, a small question mark appearing over his head. Drawing a dagger slightly from his coat, Ibe sent another message. "Aren't you sick of being this guy's slave? I don't know how you got into that situation, but I can help you get out of it. Just do as I say, okay?" A sinister grin spread across Juhyuk's face behind his mask. "He must be a guild team leader, right? I was wondering if it would come to this," he thought. His master's maniacal laugh echoed in his mind as Juhyuk wailed dramatically. But he took the bait so easily. "Yes, I'll do whatever you say. I'll do anything to get away from this man." A young girl in a dark, horned mask clasped her hands together, her eyes shining with absolute excitement. "Wow, we made it!" she cheered brightly. The masked girl and her blonde companion stood admiring the snow-covered trees of the Kaganus Mountains. "That warp was so fast," the masked girl marveled. The blonde girl smiled warmly, agreeing completely. A hint of worry crept into the masked girl's voice. "They are definitely going to make him pay a lot at whatever warp point he goes to for being full chaos. Will your brother be okay?" The blonde girl beamed with total confidence. "Do not worry about him. Whoever messes with him will find their skull in pieces when he hits back." Looking down at a parchment map, the masked girl frowned in thought. "I suppose, but do you think I upset him when I called him an old man?" Behind her, a boy playfully pretended to cry, thinking how anyone could call their savior an old man. She sighed, "I know he isn't that old, but it just came out. Did I offend him?" The masked boy crossed his arms, speaking firmly. "I am only 7 years older than you, so do not worry about calling me sir either. And you cannot call me master like the elders. Just address him by his name. I doubt he will care." The blonde girl sweated nervously, apologizing before admitting they might be in serious trouble. The masked girl whined in pure frustration, tears welling up as she gripped the map. "What? Why? Even with this map, I do not know the way. Where do we go?" The blonde girl smiled awkwardly, casually mentioning she knew the way. The masked girl gasped in utter shock. "You do?" A smug-looking official grinned in the shadows. He was at least level 40, and that was quite a low level to be an island guild team leader. The only reason he could get a cushy job as a warp portal team manager was that his aunt was one of Island's directors. Ibe's life had been full of one fortune after another. Ever since he joined the guild, he was promoted again and again, completely regardless of his actual ability. Ibe strutted up the stairs with his briefcase, entirely full of himself. He had always gotten by without having to try because of his wealthy family connections. His face twisted into an evil, arrogant smirk. "Hee hee, what a gullible little loser," he chuckled darkly. The blue-haired boy named Rupendel sobbed dramatically, messaging to ask if they were really going to help him. Ibe scoffed, thinking the boy actually believed he would help. "You will just continue being blind to the fact that you are just everyone's tool, huh?" he mocked. The masked man smiled knowingly. "That must be exactly what this guy is thinking. I can see it on his face," he thought, before casually sending a message to Rupendel. The masked man secretly messaged Rupendel, warning him of the incoming backstab. He instructed him to pretend he did not know anything, and to say he would take the warp and hand over the gold. Rupendel flinched in sheer surprise, shouting out in confusion. The blue-haired boy panicked, stuttering. "What, you're going to kill me?" he pleaded desperately. "But I've turned a new leaf. Is it too late? Can't you please spare me?" The masked man calmly replied, "Calm down. After we warp, we'll get out of the neutral zone, and then I'll hit you." The masked man confidently assured him he had a skill that could do 0 damage. Activating his fist of abnormal strength, he told him to just take the warp. Rupendel stuttered his agreement through a quick message. Ibe sneered at the seemingly useless skill. "That is a pretty crap skill if you can make it do 0 damage. Hand over the gold, pet boy," he demanded. Rupendel frantically rummaged through his pockets, asking for 1 minute. Suddenly, Rupendel erupted in furious anger. "Not 1 minute this second. I will kill you," he roared. Ibe's sweat dropped, wondering if the kid was actually serious. Soft footsteps echoed as they slowly walked along the dirt path. Entering the shadowy north side of the Kaganus Mountains, the system announced they were now leaving the neutral zone. The bushes rustled ominously around them. A quick message popped up from Ibe, ordering him to start attacking, but only enough to piss him off and distract him. The masked man realized they were being watched from nearby and quickly warned Rupendel to get ready. With a fierce dart forward, the masked man leaped, declaring he was done being a slave. He quickly messaged Rupendel to pretend to be surprised and angry. Rupendel panicked, frantically checking if the attack would really do 0 damage. With a light metallic sound, the masked man chopped Rupendel's head. Thanks to his damage reduction skill, the impact was completely negated. Rupendel just stared, utterly confused by the painless strike. Catching on, Rupendal unleashed a dramatic, screeching performance. He called him insane and yelled that he was sick of being a pet boy. Relieved, he messaged his thanks for the 0 damage, while the masked man warned him the ambush was about to start. From the trees above, the hidden ambushers prepared to strike. One of them confirmed he used Dispel magic in case the target tried to blink away. Sizzling purple sparks flew as the Dispel magic struck Rupendal squarely in the back. Assassins leaped from the trees, screaming that they would split his head open. A massive, fiery explosion erupted on the path as the masked man watched in amusement, chuckling at the incredibly unfair 5 versus 1 odds. Ibe drew his sword with a sharp metallic ring and a smug grin. Rupendal got all that gold from this chump. He is not just his pet, but his bank too. Perfect. Good work. Your role ends here, he declared proudly. Ibe swung his glowing blade violently at the masked man, declaring that since he was full chaos, there was a 100% chance of an item drop. Now you die, he proclaimed. The masked man watched the heavy slash approach with a confident grin. Dying after 1 hit is boring, he thought, so try to put up with at least 2. Ibe followed up with a powerful punch, but the masked man deflected it effortlessly with a loud impact. Ibe stared in disbelief, realizing he hit him dead on, but something felt completely wrong. Pushed back by a swift counter, Ibe skidded across the dirt with a loud swoosh. He wondered how his opponent could possibly be so fast, questioning if he was a fighter class. Wiping his bruised face, Ibe furiously analyzed the situation. He had not taken any damage, nor was he notified of a debuff. Sparks crackled as the masked man dashed with incredible speed. A bystander watched in sheer disbelief, thinking, did he put all his stat points into dexterity? Nothing else would explain this. Sparking with golden energy, the masked man playfully apologized. Oh, I didn't change my skill setting. My bad, he laughed, checking his damage-reducing skill. Ibe's face contorted with absolute rage. You dare hit me, slave, he spat out. Unfazed, the masked man coldly pointed out that Ibe had attacked first. You do not speak to me, cretin, he warned sharply. The devastating crash, the masked man struck Ibe, sending him flying through the air. You can speak to me, but I can't speak to you, he mocked as Ibe cried out in terrible pain. A brutal flying kick connected swiftly. Ibe frantically sent a message, screaming that the intel was wrong and the target was simply too strong. Rupendal blasted one of the ambushers with a terrifying red beam called Heart Attack. The ambusher screamed in panic, sending a final message to retreat before being blown away in a blinding explosion. A heavy thud echoed as Rupendal mercilessly stomped on a fallen enemy, relishing the easy victory with a wide grin. Covered in the thrill of battle, Rupendal looked utterly exhilarating. He boasted about being a pro in one-on-one fights, amazed he managed to waste all 5 guys by himself. Waving enthusiastically, Rupendal praised the masked man's incredible buff. I will be your lapdog as long as you like. I am yours, he cheered happily. The masked man simply messaged back, questioning why he had not killed Ibe yet. Landing softly next to the battered noble, Rupendal explained via message that he would not get any item drops if he killed him. Ibe stared in utter horror, realizing they were working together the whole time and he had been completely tricked. Desperate and terrified of an investigation if he died, Ibe frantically stuttered out a plea. He promised to give back all 60 million gold if they spared his life. Rupendal leaned in dangerously close, a manic grin stretching across his face. You will, he asked eagerly. Ibe stuttered out a frantic promise, begging for mercy. Cracking his knuckles loudly, Rupendal saw the perfect chance to prove his loyalty. He menacingly asked if Ibe's life was only worth 60 million gold. The masked man quietly encouraged him through a message to squeeze out every last drop. Sweating profusely and holding his magically bleeding arm, Ibe panicked and raised the offer. Okay, 100 million gold, he screamed. A terrifying, demonic aura manifested behind Rupendal as he demanded 130 million instead. The masked man happily approved the extortion, noting how much he liked this dark side of him. With a massive skeletal specter looming over him, Rupendal roared that he was charging extra for emotional damages. I think 130 million should cover it, do you not think? He screamed furiously. Completely broken, Ibe cursed loudly and surrendered. He stuttered out that he would hand over the money in the neutral zone, completely yielding to the terror. Shoving a heavy sack of gold into Rupendal's hands, Ibe pleaded with him to take it and spare his life. The skeletal specter seemed to laugh silently at his pathetic misery. Ibe sprinted away into the woods, cursing under his breath. Rupendal happily handed the heavy gold sack over to the masked man, who casually complimented the smooth robbery. As he ran, Ibe ground his teeth in pure humiliation, vowing to get out of there and plot his revenge for being humiliated like a fool. Holding the heavy sack, the masked man smiled warmly. He sent a swift message, noting that guys like Ibe were rotting society, and suggested they show him what true justice felt like. Rupendal smiled back, fully on board. Dashing after his prey like a bloodthirsty hound, Rupendal agreed enthusiastically. He promised to kill him and become a true hero of justice. Ibe zoomed down the dirt path in pure terror, while Rupendal marveled at how brutally efficient his new boss was. Glancing back, Ibe shrieked in absolute despair. Most people let swindlers go, but they actually wanted to kill him. He stuttered in a panic, crying out that they had promised to let him go. With a thunderous red shockwave, Rupendal slammed violently into Ibe's back, crushing him into the earth. The masked man watched, thinking it was boring to die in one hit, hoping Ibe could at least survive two. Standing over his defeated foe, Rupendal's eyes gleamed with absolute respect. "I like him even more now. He has my total respect," he declared. Ibe's physical body dissolved into a soft glow of blue light. He screamed in disbelief that he went down after just one hit. Rupendal noticed a glowing item drop amidst the vanishing pixels. The holographic spirit of Ibe wailed in agony as Rupendal reached for his dropped loot, grinning at his incredible luck. Holding a massive, heavy sack that rattled with treasure, Rupendal listened as Ibe's spirit stuttered out a desperate bargain. He offered a staggering 1 billion gold if the boy just left the item alone. Ibe stuttered, begging pathetically. Rupendal blinked in surprise, clarifying if he truly meant 1 billion gold in exchange for the heavy sack. Ibe's face was painted with complete devastation as Rupendal laughed mercilessly, rejecting the billion gold offer without a single second thought. Rupendal casually strolled back to the masked man, the rare loot slung over his shoulder as Ibe finally faded into nothingness behind him. He proudly announced he was all done. Explaining the situation, Rupendal mentioned Ibe offered 1 billion gold for the dropped item, but he refused. The masked man was absolutely stunned by the staggering amount. Taking the mysterious sack, the masked man carefully peered inside, wondering what in the world could possibly be worth 1 billion gold. A blinding, majestic purple light erupted from the opening, painting their faces in pure awe. "Whoa!" the masked man gasped, completely mesmerized. Staring at the glowing drops, they gasped. The masked man muttered, "Whoa, I'm sure it'll come in handy later, but I can't believe they left this kind of loot to just one team leader." He focused on the system interface, thinking, but more importantly, I thought it would be worth 1 billion, but who could have imagined? The glowing hologram displayed iron gauntlets, a tamer's ring, and an astonishing amount of gold. He continued his thought. He'd be carrying a couple of unique items and 500 million gold. He rummaged deeply through the heavy coin pouch. All of this is definitely not worth 1 billion, though, he pondered. Suspicions arose as he thought, does he have a guilty conscience or something? Did he acquire all this illegally? Well, that's not important right now. The blue-haired boy waved enthusiastically, shouting, "Godspeed, sir. May you level up in a flash." The masked man waved back without turning, calling out, "I'll be back. Wait for me to call you from Lunia." A sly smile crept across his face as he walked away into the shadows. "The important thing is that this is my money now," he thought gleefully. Arriving in a snowy wonderland, he was warmly greeted by a familiar blonde girl. "Juhyuk, you're here," she smiled brightly. He nodded, replying, "I see we all made it here just fine." Another girl wearing a horned mask chimed in, "It's all thanks to Se. She led us all the way here." Juhyuk looked at them and asked, "Good. Did you find out anything yet?" The horned girl leaned in close, whispering ominously, "We did. It's only a rumor between the NPCs around here, but apparently there's this crazy powerful monster that pops up now and again." She continued with a dramatic tone as dark visions filled their minds. Even a famous NPC hunter was killed by it. Her eyes widened as she emphasized the sheer danger. "A party of players around level 50 were here for a quest too, but they were annihilated," she exclaimed. Juhyuk raised an eyebrow, replying casually, "Oh yeah." Stroking his chin, Juhyuk muttered, "I didn't hear anything about this on the Olympus forums." The girl pumped her fists and asked eagerly, "But you can beat it, can't you?" He smiled confidently. "I guess we'll find out. Let's get moving." 3 days later, they journeyed deep within the freezing, snow-covered forest. With a soft swish, the horned girl cast a dark spell, buffing skeleton warriors as they violently stabbed and jabbed at a massive roaring tiger monster. The blonde girl cheered happily. "Hey, I leveled up again." The horned girl smiled warmly. "Your buffs really are amazing." Juhyuk looked around, noting with satisfaction, "No one even comes here because it's so hard, so the whole area is ours. This is totally awesome." He agreed, saying, "Tell me about it. I didn't expect it to be like this. And you two fight pretty well on your own." Suddenly, dark energy swirled rapidly around him as he commanded, "Arise from the dead." He looked at the horned girl, asking in confusion, "You keep turning everything we kill into undead, but doesn't that drain your mana?" She casually pet a giant skeletal tiger and replied cheerfully, "My mana." A massive, terrifying army of beastly undead loomed menacingly in the dark shadows behind her. "I'm hardly using any," she exclaimed. Beaming with overwhelming pride, she asked enthusiastically, "Aren't more undead better anyway?" Juhyuk sweat dropped as he looked at the sheer number of bone-chilling beasts surrounding them. He thought to himself, she must have made around 200 undead by now, including the ones still in the shadows. Reviewing his map, he concluded, "This class is so op." Looking down at a weathered map, she announced with a massive grin, "I think this is the place." Se asked in pleasant surprise, "Oh, we're here already." A massive, impossibly steep cliff face suddenly loomed before them. Juhyuk crossed his arms and asked skeptically, Are you sure you know how to read a map?" She defended herself immediately. "No, it's really here." The trio stared straight upward in sheer disbelief, sweating nervously. "It's a cliff," Juhyuk exclaimed. "We have to climb this thing." He turned to the blonde girl. "Don't you know aerial magic, See? Try and fly us up." She shook her head, explaining sadly, "It says we're not allowed to fly in this region." Juhyuk sighed in frustration. "Seriously." Suddenly, the horned girl gasped in pure horror as a dark shadow covered her face. She forcefully grabbed Juhyuk's face, panicking. "Then do we really have to climb? Juhyuk, look above you." He blinked in complete confusion, turning his head. "Why, I didn't see anything before." With a sharp, violent swoosh, a massive, terrifying shadow descended rapidly from the very peak of the mountain. "What is that?" he yelled. A gigantic, fearsome eagle screeched loudly, lunging straight toward them with murderous intent. It was the ferocious Carria. It was known as the absolute emperor of the Kaganus Mountains. When it hunted for monster prey, a sparkling stone sometimes appeared. The giant bird greedily ate these stones, making it grow even stronger and more clever. The beast believed humans to be weak creatures carrying delicious, sparkling treasures. As it screeched furiously from above, Juhyuk stepped forward, warning his companions, "Stay back, you two." Juhyuk squinted closely at the massive avian threat. "Wait, is that a chicken?" he muttered in utter disbelief. Reaching deep into his leather pouch, he fumbled around hurriedly. "Come to think of it, this item might come in handy," he planned quietly. Before he could grab the item, the giant eagle violently snatched him with its massive talons. The girls screamed out in sheer terror. "Uh-oh, no, Juhyuk." The freezing wind rushed violently around him, as the enormous bird rapidly dragged him high up into the cloudy sky. The giant bird actually seemed to smirk arrogantly, thinking, "Ha, this little chick." But Juhyuk just grinned fiercely right back. He finished the bird's arrogant thought out loud, "Is underestimating me." Intense energy flared around him as he prepared a devastating strike. "You're too cocky even for a chicken," he taunted boldly. "But I'll spare you if you live through this," he challenged. With a monstrous punch straight to its beak, an explosion of force sent shockwaves rippling through the freezing air. The stunned bird immediately opened its talons, abruptly dropping him to plummet through the clouds. The colossal eagle flailed wildly in the open sky, screeching in intense pain and total confusion. Falling effortlessly right alongside it, Juhyuk smiled menacingly. "It sure can take a hit," he noted. "Since you survived, I'll spare you. You can be my little pet instead." He forcefully grabbed the bird by its thick feathers midair. "But take another hit first," he demanded, charging his fist once more. Activating a cruel equipment effect, he declared, "This won't hurt as much as before." He punched the screaming eagle again, purposefully increasing its pain exponentially. With a thunderous explosion of snow and countless scattered feathers, they crashed violently into the frozen ground below. The girls watched the massive crater form, murmuring in awe, "Wow, geez, I know it's a monster, but still." The system promptly announced that the monster had entirely lost the will to resist, officially allowing the use of a taming item. The battered, defeated bird whimpered a soft, pathetic screech. Standing triumphantly upon the fallen emperor of the sky, Juhyuk pulled out a glowing ring. "I got some items the other day while serving justice," he said smoothly, "and it's time to put 'em to use." He slipped the magical ring onto his finger with a deeply sinister grin. "You're mine now," he declared. A blinding, brilliant flash illuminated the snowy area entirely as the powerful taming effect took hold. The system interface crackled to life, scanning his stats and confirming his extremely high intelligence to heavily influence the taming process. The blinding light finally faded as the system happily congratulated him on partially taming the massive beast. The girls rushed over, staring in absolute awe. Juhyuk lounged completely relaxed on the giant eagle's soft back. "Taming's not so hard after all," he laughed lightly. The system then requested him to name his brand new pet. "A name," he pondered thoughtfully. The girls finally caught up to him. "Is there anything he can't do?" one asked in amazement. Se questioned curiously, "Since when could you tame?" Juhyuk casually swiped his interface, replying, "I just used a taming item I got the other day." Se looked thoroughly shocked. "Only the gold spoons have access to those items for when they practice taming, but can you even call what you did taming? It doesn't really make sense." Juhyuk waved her off dismissively. "Whatever." He eagerly opened his detailed pet list interface. "Wow, Rupendel is actually listed as my pet," he observed. "Wait, the chicken is S-rank, and it eats monster stones and gold? It's a monster that eats money." He sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. "If it's S-rank, though, it must be as expensive as the Korean beast Master Eugen's wyvern that's also S-rank. Should I even bother to raise it?" The giant bird cooed weakly beneath him. He bent down closely, patting the giant bruised beak. "Hey, you understand what I'm saying, right?" he asked sharply. The bird violently jolted in absolute surprise. Pulling out a heavily jingling bag of gold, he grinned widely. "Cuckoo, you see this gold?" He narrowed his eyes, deducing. "So you were just pretending not to understand me." The bird immediately perked up, squawking at the delightful sound of money. He shook the glowing bag right next to its eager, wide eyes. "You like this, don't you? Well, it's all mine." The greedy bird began to sweat nervously as Juhyuk leaned in. "But if you do what I say, it'll all be yours, Cuckoo, got it?" The system dinged loudly, proudly announcing Carrier was completely tamed and named Cuckoo. The girls watched him feed it sparkling coins, utterly baffled. "Who the hell tames a monster like that?" they whispered. Fully rejuvenated by the shiny gold, Cuckoo let out a triumphant, earth-shaking screech and flapped its massive, powerful wings. The party soared incredibly high into the sky on the giant eagle's broad back. "Wow, we're going so fast," Se cheered happily, while the horned girl yelled over the rushing wind, "Look how high we are." Juhyuk carefully reviewed his map as they flew effortlessly over the snowy peaks. "We can get there much easier thanks to Cuckoo," he noted with great satisfaction. Hovering high near the mountain's peak, he examined the treacherous terrain below. "The map clearly says it's near here. I'm looking, but I don't see this entrance anywhere," he said, cursing the old bastard who gave him the map. The horned girl peeked curiously over his shoulder. "Did you find something?" "Nope, not a thing," she answered herself. "But with your strength, I bet you'd find something if you just punched the cliff." Juhyuk glared at her sideways. "You don't know this game very well, do you?" he scolded. "I may be strong, but I don't have a mining skill or anything. I can't just punch my way through terrain." "I made some undead try that just in case," she pointed out as a large skeletal bear desperately clawed at the solid stone. "But I gotta notice that I'm not worthy." Juhyuk suddenly stood up straight on the eagle's back, his cape blowing in the wind. "Grab on tight, you two," he commanded. The girls looked completely confused, asking simultaneously, "Why, what?" Pointing directly at the solid, sheer mountain wall, he loudly commanded, "Cuckoo, fly headfirst into that cliff as fast as you can. I'll stand on your head." His fist suddenly ignited with a furious, dark, crackling energy. "Worthy, huh? This actually won't work, will it?" he muttered somewhat doubtfully. They completely rushed the massive mountain wall at an absolutely breakneck speed. "Will doing this," he roared over the deafening wind, "really open the way?" He threw a colossal, devastating punch right at the rock face. A massive, swirling shockwave of dark energy violently slammed into the cliff. The system recognized the incredible force, but flashed a strict warning. "You have yet to meet the criteria to open the cliffs of time." "What criteria?" Juhyuk asked sharply, his fist still smoking heavily. The system responded instantly. 200 monsters living in the Kaganus Mountains must be sacrificed. A glowing orange timer abruptly appeared right in his vision. The system coldly stated, "You have 5 minutes." Well, that's all for today. If you like this video, then give it a big thumbs up. And yeah, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.